Oh, blam. Get out of your Twitch chat. Not you Twitch chat, other Twitch chat. The camera's back. Who's excited? Is it really quiet? We'll try it at 60.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Glorious Ashes of Creation March development update. We hope that you've been having a wonderful month.
You can see my patchy
beard. We have been so busy. We have a very, very long live stream for you. So,
oh my god,
buckle in.
And we're still Wi-Fi connected on the
grab
camera.
Your
that
snacks.
sucks. I'll have to fix
get
that
some
later.
Popcorn. Make sure to get some refreshments. Margaret and I are actually talking about whether or not we should include a mandatory intermission in the showcase today, like a little 5-minute get up potty break thing.
Our video editor.
Yeah, we'll just leave that vaguely in frame.
Maybe we should have like a little intermission in between. But
oh, you guys can see that. That's funny.
I know that you don't.
That's for me to check it.
But we will also, we have a lot planned. So hopefully you are prepared. Like I'm saying, if you want to go get some snacks now, I highly recommend it. But as you can see below, today's plan is we have a few reminders. We have our fighter archetype preview, which I know a lot of people have been really excited about. It is I think one of the longest archetype previews we've had. I think someone
I like that. That sounds good.
Snapchat of all the links of all of them. They just keep getting longer and longer.
Well, I mean, as you know, this is a byproduct of active development, right? As things get more fleshed out, there's more stuff to talk about and show.
Covering Steven.
You guys, as you've been watching, are going to see, back from the early fighter, basic melee to the ranged weapon to the cleric to the, ranger and tank. Like each of these are more and more fleshed, and now you're getting an idea of what Alpha 2
I'm still sad that
is going to consist of from an archetype.
We haven't seen
this one. This
some of the classes we just genuinely haven't seen
is very detailed, and we even get into more of the work that Brian's been doing and the combat team's been doing on weapon progression skills as well, and those are pretty detailed now. So
we mostly show
about an hour, 40 minutes of archetype preview. No worries.
I'm gonna do one quick thing on my screen real quick.
A little bit. I'm trying to adjust my audio to match yours, and I might have just pushed it a little too loud. But yeah, we are only showing like the great sword in the weapon skill trees, but I think that it will still be exciting for y'all to see and check out. And then after that, we do want to just do a quick studio update, and then we have some art updates as well for y'all, and we'll do a little Q&A. We'll probably try to get through that pretty quick because it's going to be a long one today. But let's get right into the reminder stuff.
I didn't know
the first thing we have here today is, of course, our YouTube spotlight. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us. Yeah,
subscribe to the YouTube.
If you subscribe to us over on our YouTube channel and leave a comment on our dev update version of the live stream, your spotlight could be, or your comment could be spotlighted. Whew, that was a mouthful. So this one is from Rives Genesis, who wants to know, we know that the normal death penalty incurs a myriad of penalties for the player, but we don't know the numbers behind the penalty. For instance, what percentage of materials do players drop? What percentage of glint is dropped? How severe is the skill and stat dampening? And what is the average time it will take a player to work off XP debt from one death? That was a lot of questions in your one comment. They were cramming it.
Okay, so just to recap real quick there, we're talking about percentage lost, time to recoup that percentage, the material percentage sunk versus lootable, and then what was the last one?
Glint drop.
Yeah, I decided to get the camera out.
Your stat dampening. Stat and skill dampening.
Just in case I wanted to upload this to YouTube or something. My reaction.
So first I want to say that the most important the most important part of this question is you're asking about values, right? You're asking about percentile values. You're asking about time that it takes to recoup the percentage and whatnot. Any time that we're at a stage we're in now, and that in Alpha 2, we're going to be testing this, those values are the most subject to change. So to be clear, like we're going to do best estimate, best guess kind of balance pass for Alpha 2 with the full expectation and understanding that the purpose of Alpha 2 is to really dial in those guesses
Okay, that's good to hear.
and take into consideration
I mean,
player
I trust
interaction
them,
with
but
those
it's good to
numbers
hear it, you know?
and what feels best. So just off the bat, like those values are not what we should be focusing on at this stage. But to give you an idea kind of where we are. First of all, like when we're talking about dropping items that are in your material inventory, whether that be glint or that be other material types, we're talking roughly between anywhere from 20 to 30% of a stack is going to be lootable on a per death basis. Now, that is a value that can change based off of the types of bags that you are using to carry those materials.
Kind of like a RuneScape
In
system
addition,
almost.
there's other progression
But
that
instead
can
of it
allow
through
you
prayer,
in
it's
some
through
stats, I
items.
believe, that can allow you to mitigate that value also. When we are talking about the percentage that's lost, or excuse me, not lost, the percentage of your level that is accrued as experience debt from death, generally you can expect that that's going to live around 3 to 4% of the level in accrued experience debt per death. However, additionally, there is a way to mitigate that percentage debt, and that is through the resurrection ability that's provided to clerics. So clerics have the ability to
Okay, that's
resurrect their
good.
allies, and that resurrection will return a percentage that would have been accrued as experience debt, and that return percentage is predicated on the investment into the res-ability as well as the stat that
Hey,
is
Els.
the stat of the cleric that is tied to the resurrection effect as well. So those can return percentages, so you can mitigate that to a degree. How long will it take you to recover that, and what stat dampening kind of occurs? Anywhere within a level, if you acquire 100% experience debt for that level, you max out the experience debt, essentially, you don't ever buy that down, you're probably looking around a 20% stat efficacy dampener, right? So on
Damn.
average, if you're at 100% debt for a level and you got to work all that off before you can start progressing in the level
I think
again,
that's good though.
you're at
It
around
should be a large
20%
percentage
overall
or
stat dampening.
like a hefty
Um,
percentage. If you're
time
gonna
it
fuck
takes you to
around, you should
regain
find
that
out
debt
effectively.
is predicated on the level you're at, right? And how you XP. So that's a highly variable value.
They
Yeah,
keep
I think
fucking with
those
their
are all the
audio
answers to the
levels.
questions.
It's getting
Yeah, and I know
quieter and
that
quieter.
one's one that people have heard a little bit before, or at least elements of it. I think glint is a new element of that that wasn't there before when we've answered it. But not
My camera better
everybody's.
stay
Some
stable. It
people
just made a
are
noise.
newer to our community, so that will be handy for them. And of course, if you want your comment spotlighted on YouTube, head on over to our YouTube channel to get yours spotlighted.
I
We've
think that
got
was a
them
good. That was
already
a
done.
good
So
And
thing to
just to be
touch
clear,
on, though.
I
I
just
like
want to
that.
comment. You made a great point there, Margaret. Is
yeah,
that some people may not be very familiar with these systems. Um, to be clear, the philosophy in Ashes of Creation is that we are a bit more difficult of a game experience. That is what we're trying to accomplish. We've all played a lot of MMOs where you're either always a winner or it's very easy to fall and get up again. And that's okay. Like those games need a place to exist, and a lot of people enjoy playing them. I historically, as a dungeon master in my tabletop campaigns, can be a bit ruthless. And I think that it's interesting if the
Yes,
difficulty
Martha.
level you're faced with in this open world with many other players forces you to think critically about strategy or about cooperation and teamwork, right?
More
And
in line
that
with
the
something like
challenges
BDO
you
or Arcade.
face are not easily surpassed or bypassed. Um, and so in that regard, a system like, experience debt doesn't necessarily de-level you. You don't want to de-level a player, but we do want to make the fear of loss palpable. We do want to make
It's not
the
like BDO, just
the
more akin
failure
to.
real.
I could do a
And
deeper
that
dive
can
explaining
be
it
an
later if you'd
encouragement
like.
to perform better. because when you do succeed, it will feel that much better.
They kind of did.
Yeah. So, keeping those things in mind. And of course, we have continued to gather your guys' feedback as we move forward and things. And just wanted to make one more note on the questions. For the Q&A segment on the forums, we do try to only pull newer questions. And we do try to give people the answers. If you've asked a repeated question that we've answered before, we try to give you where you can find those answers or even answer them for you in the forums. So just keeping that in mind. But the Q&A one for the spotlight, for the comment is, it's a special outlier. We do have dev discussions, though. We're constantly trying to get your guys' feedback on various different things, whether that's through our gameplay loops.
Well, I guess this
future
next bit probably won't be that important.
Want to showcase.
Just so I can kind of talk over
one that we put out is regarding time dedication, and we asked you how much time.
Hey, actually, that wouldn't be a bad thing to ask. I don't think they currently have one, but it wouldn't be bad to.
What are the differences between an expert player versus a casual player? Time commitment, skill, game knowledge, etc. And we gave you some other prompts as well. So definitely, if you have some thoughts on this, you want to give us your feedback.
Just tell Steven that I ganked his ass once, and he owes me.
Pop that over because
I'll gank him again. I swear I'll do it.
We're going to be compiling the data on that soon and sending that over to our development team. So please head on over there. And our next one that we're going to be
fair, I don't know if I killed him. I definitely have fought him before.
And I know y'all.
I played during some of the
thoughts on that because I know you do.
Times you played.
That is one of the biggest things back in the day. Progression with items. So definitely.
I do not remember if I actually killed him or not.
Without further ado, we'll get straight into the fighter archetype preview. But with that, I'm going to let Steven do his preface before the preface, but I do want to preface that it is very long, so buckle in, make sure you have your snacks, take your potty break right now. But yes. Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to also say that we did experience success last month in our preview where we launched the YouTube video at the same time on the stream. We'll be doing that again today so that those of you who wish to watch the video in 4K or 2K, I'm not sure which one we uploaded it in, have the opportunity to do so on our YouTube channel. So that's going to be going live momentarily with us.
Cool.
However, remember, please stick around on stream. Make sure you give us your commentary and feedback here. It is a bit of a ritual for me to go back and watch the live stream again and kind of read through the commentary as I don't get to see it well during the live stream because I'm actually chatting with you guys. But yes, so to preface this, obviously, the same is true. This is a work in progress. We are working towards Alpha 2, particularly UI. Balance, big time balance. When you guys go into watching these abilities, please understand that these are very finger in the wind approaches to some of the numbers will not be and values within these abilities. That's going to get tinkered with just before we get into Alpha 2. There's going to be a final kind
probably
of
damage too
before the Alpha 2 begins.
That's going to change a lot anyways.
And then we'll be iterating on that obviously as Alpha 2 is continuing. In addition, performance, right? We are still working on performance. There are still some lighting changes that need to be done. And the other thing that I want to talk a little bit about is like when you're thinking about feedback, talk about the things you both enjoyed and the things you would like to see done differently, right? In particular, we're talking about mobility of the class. We're talking about utility of the class. We're talking about,
go full beater.
Its role in combat, right? What you expect to see out of the class fantasy that is a fighter. You're going to see the abilities. I think there's 17 or 18 abilities probably here with this fighter.
Oh shit! Okay, that's a lot.
Go through those in the first like 45 minutes or so, or each ability one by one. We're going to talk about.
I don't think they showed that many for the Ranger Showcase.
Talk about their
Maybe
expansion trees as well.
Not like
we're also going to talk about the great sword and weapon progression. So, hour and 45ish minutes, or what is it?
Hour and 38 minutes.
Jesus.
Hour and 38 minutes. This
and
is
we'll
a big
have the 4K video going up live, and it will be in premiere mode as well. So I think that's already, we're getting that started for you guys. So we'll see you in a moment.
Guys, enjoy.
Cool. For the video segment, I might want to turn that a little bit. So give me a second.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another day in the world of Vera. And we have an exciting.
It actually came through my mic a
update for
second
you
there.
today. We are going to be showing off one of the
How
most
loud it went.
beloved archetypes in fantasy MMORPGs, the fighter archetype. And there has been a lot of work that's been done in progressing this. Obviously, the last time we showed anything remotely fighter related, it was I think almost 2 years ago when we did our first basic weapon, melee weapon revamp from Alpha 1. And there were a couple of abilities, obviously, that we showed off, but nothing like the showcase we have stored for you today. You are going to get some pretty in-depth understanding of how this archetype has been redesigned and the progression that's going to be available as part of Alpha 2. And we have joining us to talk through that today two of our absolutely stellar and glorious senior designers on the combat team, Trad, Brian. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good here. Glad to be back on stream.
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Happy to have
Yeah,
you
I mean,
both.
I think
You guys put in a
the
lot of
hot bar
work
could
in,
definitely use a
and I
retooling.
think really
I'm sure they
represented
will.
pretty well what a lot of people who
But,
play fighters and other MMOs love about the class.
I think
I'm
everything else
excited
it's
to chat
good
with
for
you about the
where
direction
they're
you guys
at.
have taken. And obviously,
Like they could
helping
use
to
some
make that
animations
reality,
on the health and
future team
mana.
owner on the combat
Maybe
side,
like some
as
bubble
well
effects or
as
something
one of our
weird, you
senior
know?
engineers. Keenan, how are you doing, buddy?
But like, it's
I'm
clean.
doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's
And,
readable.
now that you mentioned
But
it, I think
that's-
that original fighter stream was actually my first stream.
Was it really?
It doesn't
Yeah, I
look
think
like a
so.
Korean
I think
MMO.
it was. I think you're right. Yeah, there was a lot of work that went into kind of obviously changing
We're
the
not playing
direction
Dungeon
of
Fighter Online
melee
yet.
and combat in general at that time, and now we are seeing some of the fruitful persistence in that direction. So, one other thing I want to let you guys know is obviously we are here back again in the Riverlands, and we are actually in front of Oakenbane Keep, which is an area you guys saw at the end of the last live stream from Commission's live stream. And right when we ended that live stream, a story arc began in this area called An Ancient Violence. And we're going to be going in there and taking a
Little
look around.
goblin or rat
First,
dude in the background there.
I think what we should do is something that we have successfully done in the past with these showcases is kind of show off each individual ability first, talk about what they do, and give you guys a sense of the archetype and the abilities available to us before we get into combat with some freaky Goblin Town stuff. So, do I have a volunteer today that could help tank some blows potentially?
Yeah, I'll help.
Nice, awesome. All right,
Oh.
very cool.
I'm actually curious about
so,
this.
Which should we start with first? What do you guys think?
Because I'm either playing Ranger, Rogue, or Fighter. More than likely.
Start with Blitz.
Blitz?
Maybe
All right,
Mage.
let's see. Blitz is the first
Yeah,
one
let's
on the
go.
bar.
Depends on
Let's go down the
how
bar.
the feel
All right,
is,
let's do it.
really.
Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Why don't we first start with Momentum? That sounds like a good idea because
Sure.
Momentum is obviously going to be referenced in Blitz. I was just looking at that, and as well as a number of other abilities. And Momentum
Also, it's not something new they've shown,
essentially a class energy system.
but
Is that
I
right,
do
Trent?
love. I do love me some
That is
sentries.
correct.
Talk to me about
I do love them.
Yeah, I'll go into a little more detail about that. So
I miss them
one thing that we
in
feel
WoW.
adds a lot to
Actually, they're back in
just
WoW.
class identity in general is something that is beyond just an ability. In this case, it's a class or in this case, an archetype resource called Combat Momentum. So in your top left of the screen here, you'll see that you've got your standard health bar and your mana bar, and then a third empty bar
And then
that
a
you'll see
zero
kind of
bar.
build up in combat as we play. That you build up through all the different actions that you're doing through the kit, and you can use this resource to get passive power to your character.
Is it just going to
based
be
on
Rage?
which form you were in, which we'll get into it in a little bit here. And you can also spend it for certain unique, especially powerful bonuses.
So, and guys, just to remind everyone, obviously, everything you're going to see here is still a work in progress. We are working towards Alpha 2, especially as it relates to the UI, as it relates to VFX. and designs will change. Balances
On
will
TLDR
change.
for Steven.
So keep that in mind. What we're looking
This
for
is not
kind
even
of
Alpha 2
direction,
yet.
right? Direction on these.
The
on
ship
this
will
archetype, what you
change.
think looks cool. What other,
I feel bad
what
that he has to
other
repeat himself.
fighter influences have you had in other MMOs
But,
that you think could be incorporated as well? That's all part of the discussion. Okay, so momentum is that
We
class
all
energy
know
ability, and
how
as you
it
guys
be.
have seen, obviously other classes Trad is talking about has some similar kind of class energy mechanics. Momentum is definitely, it looks like it is as it sounds, right? I mean, this is something that just passively is generating increased stat bonuses, and those stat bonuses we'll get to in a little while how they can be applied based on some individual buffs. So now that we know what momentum is, and it's good to generate that, let us talk a little bit about Blitz. What is Blitz as an ability?
Yeah, Blitz is your gap closer,
like a
your
charge?
bread and butter gap
Okay.
closer. You pick a target and you charge to the target. There's also a spec option that interacts with the resource if you choose it, that generates some combat momentum, so it lets you kind of open the encounter with a little bit of resource.
That's a must
Okay,
pick.
so I'm gonna charge
That's
the target
1000% a
directly,
must pick.
and I'm gonna deal damage on arrival,
PvP,
which is
PvE,
physical
you need
based,
that.
and this spec option says that it
I'm calling it
generates
right now.
20 additional combat momentum. Now, presumably combat momentum does not overflow after it hits the maximum 100 points. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I see under it there is an additional spec option that says killing an enemy with lethal blow will reset the cooldown of Blitz. So the more I kill, essentially, if I use lethal blow, I can just keep that momentum up, generating additional combat momentum, so I can use a little bit after, you know, potentially landing on the target and
So
replenish
they're
that
basing fighter off of like D&D fighter.
executing lethal blow on
Or
the
well, I
target
say
as a
D&D
kill,
fighter, more
and
like
then
3.5
raging Blitz into the
Pathfinder
next.
fighter.
Yeah,
More
it turns you into
specifically.
more of a aggressive mobile character if you go with that. Like you're killing enemies and then you need to pick a new target. He might be far away. You charge to him, kill him, rinse and repeat.
Not bad.
Cool. All right, let's take a look.
It's simple. It's basic, like a fighter should be.
Ooh, nice. Okay, that was cool. And presumably
You know,
this
your warrior
also
archetype
scales verticality
Should
as
be
well.
your simplest class. Or your most straightforward class. Maybe
And
not your
guys, for the
simplest class.
purposes,
Your most
obviously, of this
straightforward.
demonstration, I've set my cooldowns to 0 so that I can more repeatedly use. Oh, here we go. We got some. Kill those little mushrooms, huh? I don't
So
want
is he going to
spoil
charge
the skills.
across elevation?
It's a kind of stormy day with this ancient violence in the background. Oh, and by the way, we are playing
How does the pathing
for
work
the
for
first
it?
time in I believe in game, the Renkai orcs. Got my trusty mohawk going on. It is probably the most
He's not a night elf.
appropriate race
Sorry.
class combination.
I'm dating myself. Don't worry about it.
I thought so.
All right, so I'm gonna try to jump. I'm gonna try to scale this thing on you. Let's see here.
Please. Okay.
Oh man, now that is cool.
That's what I wanted to
That was
see.
awesome.
Okay.
Let me do that again.
Yeah, this is kind of an
It doesn't
answer
look
you get to,
janky.
like, that archer on the
It does
ledge
look a
that's
little
just free
weird.
shooting on you, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna get up there with you.
Oh my bad.
Wait, how did that not go up? Is it based on being in the air? Do you have to be in the air when you activate it?
Okay, so by default, so now let me try this. Oh, did you just die?
I think that was a bad nuke.
My bad.
From someone.
My bad.
No, that was for sure my bad.
Fucking around and found it out. Live.
That feels.
It looks like
really
you have to
good, by
jump
the
to do
way.
it.
That
He's
feels
jumping to do
clean.
it.
Very clean. Oh, there's. Did somebody also die over here?
Just a little mushroom kid.
Oh, a little mushroom. Okay. Okay, Blitz feels really good. Well done with that. I like that. It's super smooth and fluid. It feels.
Kind of basic, but the item pickup
there's
does
not
look
really
really nice
any
too.
movement interruption either.
And it's just
on
simple.
contact or at the
There's nothing wrong with it being
initiation,
simple.
which is obviously
Clean,
one of the most
readable.
ideal feeling
add the
points
flair
of
later.
any mobility skill, right? Is that fluidity throughout. Okay, let's talk about the next one. So we have Brutal Cleave.
Yep, this is probably your most bread and butter AoE
it
attack.
attacks around him in a 180 degree or
it does a medium amount of
360
damage. It's
potentially?
not one of your more spectacular AoEs, but it's your primary AoE resource generator, so you're going to be using this a lot to build your momentum. And you also weave this a lot between your weapon combos because your weapon attack finishers will reset seconds off of this cooldown. So if you're like going back and forth between cleaves and weapon attacks, you get to do more of them and have more uptime.
I don't know if I like it, that being the skill for that.
That's pretty cool. All right. So this
Also, the more targets you hit, so that's why it's really good in AoE situations, is you get more momentum based on how many targets you're hitting.
Yeah, but
got it. So after jumping in with
that kind of
Blitz,
skews fighter to
especially if
being
there's multiple targets,
AoE
going with
well, not
brutal
dependent,
cleave
but like
is just
what's
going to
the
really ramp that momentum. And
like
then
you're
it
gonna
looks
feel a
also that
difference whether
this
you're AoE or not.
ability, it says shares a cooldown with
In other
Overpower.
MMOs, that's fine.
And it says
Like
also the
14,
weapon
let's
combo
say, right?
finisher will reduce its cooldown by 8 seconds.
Or WoW.
Yep.
But
so
in Ashes,
you'll be
you
resetting
kind of want your classes
overpowers
to...
more frequently, because if we want to just jump over to that one,
know.
that's the single target counterpart to this attack. It's
don't
just
overthink
a
it too
single
much.
target hit, but it is shorter cooldown, so you can reset them more frequently, and it's also generating your resource. So it kind of, you're choosing which one to use based on what your enemies are.
Very cool. That looks great, by the way. Scott did a.
It does look
Scott
good, though.
and Siva have done an amazing job.
I don't know. I think I'd rather be a single target ability
really
that's your
happy
like
with
bread
how
and
the
butter
effects turned
generator.
out. Like,
But
making
I think they
physical
are
look
trying to
was
make
cool.
fighter a
Like,
lot more AoE dependent.
you know, it was a feat.
The original showcase they did was a lot of AoE abilities. So maybe that is the point. Maybe that's what they're aiming
very
for.
cool. I like that. This brutal cleave is awesome.
So-
Let's talk about maim. Here, let's go over here a little bit.
I suppose my my single target bias is showing.
Talk to me a little bit about maim.
So this is a more powerful AoE attack in the kit. Do you have a spec right now for the
Yeah, let me take a
the
look here.
range?
And by the way, brutal cleave, I apologize. There's no additional functionality, it looks like, on brutal cleave. But we did talk also about
Overpower's on the right column. It's an auto-granted ability, so it's not going to be in this tree. Like if you,
got it.
there you go.
Okay, so it doesn't
so
have
this-
any spec options either.
That's right.
But maim does. And should I turn maim off? Let me turn the spec option off first, because this actually extends the distance of the projectile by essentially launching that piercing projectile. Is that right?
Yeah, let's take a point out of that first, and then we'll just kind of look at the base effect.
Okay.
So this is just a cone in front of you. You're hitting in a cone in front of you. It's pretty heavy hitter. You're not resetting the cooldown of this, so you need to be more, aware of when you're using this. But
That looks really
It
nice.
also has the added effect
I don't
of it will do more damage.
The
against
ground effect's maybe a
recently
little too
tripped
muted,
enemies.
but, like,
so that's where
everything
you
else
really
is
want to
pretty
save
nice.
this, is if you've tripped
A little
someone,
flashy, maybe.
or if someone else has tripped an enemy, you capitalize on it by basically smashing down on them with this.
As long as it's not spammed too heavily
That
in a
looks
kit,
so good. Love it.
it won't be too
That is
bad.
awesome. Okay, so let's spec into the projectile. Now this is going to give you obviously a lot more range. Oh! Oh!
Yeah, I don't
This
know how.
adds a piercing
meta that would
projectile
end
on
up
top of
being.
the attack, so you're still getting that frontal AoE.
Maybe for open
hitbox
world. Open
that's
world,
staying the
that'll be
same,
probably
but
really
you're
good.
Adding a projectile on top of it, and the cool thing here too is the projectile gets the bonus of the damage bonus from the trip, so you could actually combo into a target that you see trip from range with this as well. One
I'm thinking
reason
about
this
it
is
as
a
being
spec
like
option
chase
is
down.
Some fighters will
A way of
want
taking
to
out your
be
target if
using
you chose
this
to
in a
run.
way that you
Maybe.
don't want to pull a mob in the distance.
So that's like the
it's
one
just kind
thing-
of an added layer of skill if you're using this in a, like a really cluttered environment.
That melee classes usually
but
suffer
it's kind
from.
of a trade-off.
That feels really good.
I mean, usually it's my biggest
That
pet
is
peeve in
awesome.
playing melee
I'll give myself some
in
mana.
an MMO is not being able to chase when some loser decides it's he doesn't want to fight anymore.
Okay, cool. I love maim. That is an awesome ability. Let's talk about battle cry.
Me, I'm some loser.
This is definitely one of my personal favorites. It doesn't do damage,
That's
but it's
dope.
got some really cool effects going on with it. So, do you want me to start talking about it, or do you
Yeah,
want to
sure. No,
use it
yeah,
first?
you're
Okay, cool. So I love this as an AoE opener. What it does a few things. One, it riles your allies, specifically your party members. It will also apply a status effect called Shaken to your enemies. And then it will generate a certain amount of combat momentum per ally that you riled. And then just to elaborate, because people are like, what is Shaken? What is riled? Well, Shaken right now is a debuff on enemies that whenever they take damage, they have a small chance to become tripped. So there's some good combos with this where like you go into like a multi-hit AoE and you can capitalize on that.
Okay, so they're going to be
And
doing
then
layered
by triggering trip
status
status,
effects.
that flows into maim really well. So that's one of the combos I like to do is shout into like a whirlwind, which you'll see in a bit. Into maim to do extra damage against targets.
I think they might. I just don't think he's
that
showing
effect.
them. I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, these are feeling great. Wow, I do like the battle cry. That is
No,
like,
I'm thinking about it.
Probably the
Ranger
most
had them,
standard feeling, like, expected.
but you're right. They
action
haven't
on
shown
behalf
any.
of the
Not that
fighter, some type of battle cry effect, and this one
well, that kind of does.
I love that. That's cool. Okay, we saw Whirlwind back a while ago, and talk to me about what's changed about Whirlwind.
So Whirlwind is actually pretty close to what it's always been. It's an AoE channeled attack that ramps up in speed the longer you hold it. There's also a spec option on the right if you want to pick that gives a final upward swing at the end that has some additional bonuses to it.
Okay.
I like that they're
let's see
showing
about
us
the
like the
spec
full
first.
array of what's capable here too. Because I assume we're only gonna get to pick so much from our
so it
trees.
exits out after the essentially
kind of-
the spinning there. Let's see.
Like, I think it's fair to assume that, really.
Mana. There we go. Let's try it again.
I get the feeling the projectile.
Yeah, you're also able to move during it as you're
Is
seeing
iffy
here.
on whether it's needed or
pretty
not.
nice to be able to just kind of like use this while you're moving through a pack of mobs.
Got it. So let me spec now into the option that I could invest additional points into this particular skill if I wanted to give myself a finishing blow.
It probably
essentially.
won't be. I mean, maybe some classes might end up being very combo-y.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you get a big hit at the
We
end.
also don't know much about archetype set
Also, you
either,
can stop
right?
this at
So
any time, so you're
that
seeing
could
him
also
do the
change up
channel,
how
but
that
if
works.
It's like, oh, I want to, cancel out of it early. For, like, let's say one thing I'll do from time to time is
very
like,
WoW-like, right?
shaking
Yeah.
enemies, and then this ability is kind of good.
I
at
say WoW.
tripping
There's other
enemies 'cause it's hitting
MMOs that
really
do it, but I
rapidly.
think
You might see a trip and
WoW
you
is
can
the oldest
cancel
one I
out
can
of
think
it
of that does
into a
that.
maim early. If you want to show off that.
Guild Wars
combo.
had a couple classes that were like that as well.
Into a main.
There was two, I
Let's
mean.
do it.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
Like the
That's
thief class is
cool.
quite literally all that.
That feels good. Let's
You don't even really have a damage rotation in PvP sometimes, depending on what spec you're playing. But
That's so cool. That's awesome. All right, cool.
or like
Whirlwind
much of
feels
one.
good
I mean,
too.
like
All
one or
right.
two buttons. maybe.
Cataclysm is another one that we saw a while ago. What's changed with Cataclysm?
Yeah, a lot has changed with this one. It used to be like this big, like
This is the
that
hammer
would appear over
swing
your
one,
head,
okay.
and then it hit like an AOE kind of far away from you. Overall, it ended up feeling a little awkward to use. We wanted to turn this more into like your big frontal AOE damage. So this is like the other end of the spectrum, like stronger than maim. It's just a big ultimate like AOE attack essentially. It's pretty straightforward.
All right. No additional.
Probably
spec
long
options here.
cooldown. I didn't.
And
pay
by the way,
attention to what his
for
cooldown
those
was.
of you out here, that are wondering about kind of how augments, even though we haven't seen a lot of augment work being done, a lot of this tech is foundational in applying these types of spec options, which augments essentially are as well, but they can more radically change fundamentally what the ability is. So that whirlwind, adding an additional component to the ability, which is that climactic whirlwind essentially, could be considered functionally as an augment, an additional effect applied to the ability. Okay, let us showcase that new Cataclysm.
Oh,
Oh, that feels much better.
yes, the hammer swing down looked really
Yeah, that's
janky
cool.
and odd and out of place.
This is also another way to apply shaken to enemies as well. It and Battlecry are kind of on separate.
Okay, so that
longer
kind of solidifies
cooldowns,
it. They are
you might
very
find
AoE
yourself
heavy.
sort of going back and forth between these interchangeably.
I mean, not like
You
I'm
can
saying that,
change
but just
the
for the sake
direction
of
here mid wind up.
confirming my
Yep.
suspicions earlier.
Nice. I like that. Obviously, the granularity in that.
Yeah, it gives you a little more agency.
The original
you're not
showcase
just
was like that
locked in
too, but
place, because it is
with
a
a certain-
full rooted ability.
exactly
You
how they
cannot
would
move during this.
Change things,
But
I
being
guess,
able to
ultimately.
turn gives you a little bit more, control over what happens as things might change mid cast.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. I love the freedom feeling there. And that's obviously something that, is a philosophy and a standard that's taken across a lot of the classes as it comes to rooted ability use and whatnot. That freedom of agency, that movement is core to kind of the melee experience and general skill usage. All right, next up we have
It's
Rupture.
hybrid. So
Yep,
a bit
this
of
is an
tab
interesting
target,
one. It's a single
a
target
bit of
attack,
free
and
aim.
it puts a temporary debuff on your target where
It-
if
it-
they are moving, while that effect is on them, they will build up wounded stacks. We
Jesus.
can talk about the
Man lost
we
his
can
whole
talk about the
fucking
status effect in a moment
all
here,
of his blood.
but
Can we
at the
talk
end
about
of
the
it,
fact that he should have literally 0 blood pressure remaining
Fuck.
after rupturing that much blood? Oh
Sure,
my god.
we can build in that
I
mechanic.
mean, Steven are thinking alike, dude. That is a nasty looking
Also, you'll
animation.
notice at the end of it, he takes a big hit of damage, and the idea is that that damage will scale with how much wound they have on them. So this will have kind of some inter-synergy going on with itself, but also there will be other sources of wound that you could kind of synergize this with this for further for that big delayed hit at the end.
Wow.
But yeah,
okay, so the
if-
wounds.
I know you're not
wounds are
familiar with
essentially
yours
these
too, Marth, but
stacking debuffs
think like Arcgauge,
that get applied.
but with like less direct
And
targeting.
that's gonna, you said,
Yeah, it's
decrease their healing received,
Correct.
and also increases damage taken from all sources.
From physical sources.
From physical sources.
So
got it.
then, nah, damn.
Yep. And the more you build that up, because this is actually a stacking thing, it's not just like a single status effect. So the more you're wounding the target, the more and more debuffed their healing, incoming healing becomes. So it's one of those things where if a fighter is like on your target that you're trying to keep alive, you want to peel a fighter off that target, because the longer they get that uptime, the harder it's going to become to heal them up.
Okay, so that makes fighter a very important class to have in your group.
That's cool. That's
We don't know
awesome. Okay.
exactly how potent
Blood
healing
rupture.
will be,
Also
obviously
the-
yet, but
An insane amount of blood that's happening.
it's like pretty
Um,
normal.
Overpower.
I mean, that's why Death
to me
Knights are
about
so big in
overpower. What do we got
PvP
here?
once upon a time for Necrotic
We
Strike,
talked
right?
about this one. This was the
Oh, that's right.
the resource generator.
That's right. That's right. And that one doesn't have any additional spec options.
Well, not just that.
Rupture
Sorry.
also,
There was a big part of it. Not the only reason. They were
looks
kind of
like-
busted
did that
for a
one
long
have
time,
spec
but you get my point.
options?
It does not, but if you go in, so you will see kind of to the right of Rupture, there are some things that
Something
it
about being
unlocks.
Yeah.
Like what's
To be fair,
below it,
we
Maim,
could have done
actually.
better
If you go to Maim and then to the
to
right,
explain that.
there are some.
Me and
things
Dream
over
did
here
not
that
do
you
a very
get to
good job
unlock
of
as well, which kind of
teaching.
synergize with
We were
Rupture.
very bad teachers.
For example, Brutality allows you to start applying wound stacks through your weapon combos. So if you really want to lean into that
Oh, nice.
utility,
Yeah.
So
like,
this is
I'm a
pretty
heal
good.
debuffing spec fighter, right? Like that's my thing that I do. You could go into this, and now your weapon attacks, in addition to generating momentum, are also applying wounds to the target.
Love it.
And then this one adds more wound specialization if you go down.
So they've got everything
Oh, wow,
unlocked
okay,
here,
so this
but
gives overpower and brutal cleave.
he
Ooh,
mentioned earlier about
application.
augments. I have a feeling that
Yeah,
once
it's
we start
basically
tying in
what it's kinda
augments in
doing is
later
it's
levels,
tying
you're not going to be able to
your
have
wounds
everything
to the way
unlocked.
that you're normally building momentum if you want to kind of.
Actually, I guess there's a couple exist unlocked, but still.
That's cool. Wow.
I think this is definitely just like a
Okay, let's talk about this.
so he can showcase it type deal,
apparent,
just for the sake of
crippling
saying
blow.
Yeah, sure. So crippling blow. This one's pretty simple. This
Slow.
is a standard single target snare. So a pretty common combo you'd use is like blitz into a crippling blow if you're like getting on top of a target that's trying to kite you. Like if
The
you're
fuck
charging
you
up on a
ranger
ranger who's,
ability.
like, the last
I
thing
like
they
it,
want
I
is
like it.
you in their face. Like snaring them is going to force them to maybe use a gap opener because they're not able to outrun you.
The mage is hitting blink, and the ranger's hitting, I forget the fuck the name of the ability is. It's
That's
like a
cool.
giant leap that he can do. So, in all reality,
So,
it's not like
crippling
a...
blow is pretty
It's more of a
strong,
force them to
actually, especially when it
force them to
comes to
disengage
that's a
ability, depending on the target.
significant reduction in movement speed.
On healers, on the other hand,
Yeah, it is single
It's
target.
gonna
so
be
you
like
do
a
have to
pain in the ass.
choose wisely who you were snaring, but it's pretty nice to be able to just lock a target down. Not like hard CC, but just make it easier to stick on top of them.
Very cool. All right, crippling
It does a
blow,
lot
and
of
then we
weight
have
behind those swings.
lethal
There could be
blow.
more, I think.
This is another
If
one of
I'm
my
to
favorites.
nitpick.
This is the
But it's
executed
pretty good.
kit. It's single target as well.
Even the basic hits kind of like
the lower
stagger and
health they
slow a
are,
little bit on impact.
the harder it's going to hit.
pretty good.
So this is really like you're trying to do as much damage with your other abilities as possible, and then when you get them like within that kill threshold, you're just gonna hit them with this, hope for a crit maybe, and finish them off. Use it. There you go.
Oh my god.
I hope the roar is
This
different
does have
based
a
on race.
couple spec options
It'll
as
probably be
well.
different based
One
on
you kinda
gender if I had
went
to
over,
guess.
if you kill
But I
them
hope
with
it's
that,
different
and
based
you
on
have the
race too.
spec that resets
'Cause I
blitz,
like-
you
it
could
sounds good on the
immediately
orc.
blitz again,
Or the
even
Renkai.
if it was off
But
cooldown
it
when you got the kill.
it could.
But if you want to open your skill tree here, we can look at the other one.
Let's talk
It would
about
be at a
And
place
the,
on, like,
sorry, crippling blow did not have any spec
a
options.
human
but
or
lethal
elf.
blow.
Forgive me for not remembering every race's name. They
Yeah,
all get
so,
weird names, but
A lot of the time, I've played games where executes hit really hard.
That
and
is something
waste a
I'd
lot
like
of the
them to
damage,
show.
and it's like
I wanna
saw
see
a cool
that.
big number, but it didn't.
we
really
kind of
do
saw it with the
anything.
PvP
It's
showcase a
wasted.
couple months ago.
This spec option lets you make use out of
And
that.
it was
So it turns
a
any
little
overkill
blinding, but it
damage
wasn't the end of the
into,
world.
Like health and mana return to you, the
Oh, that's
caster.
awesome. And you know what I
But we
love
only
about
had so
that
many of the
is, at least as it
classes
relates to
represented at the
PvP,
time, right? So
is
things could
that
change.
You do not have granularity insight to the opponent's hit points, so
Oh,
you're
one
really
time will
rolling
point
the
of
dice
years,
if you want to
short one, short one,
maximize
point of
efficacy
years.
on this
Animal
consuming
one,
lethal
there you
blow.
go.
Yeah, that's how I've been using
Pretty,
it. a
pretty
lot.
on the nose.
Like
I
sometimes
agree.
I pull it off, other times I don't.
I actually don't know if they have a
Love it.
beast
That's
race.
super cool. I like that interaction there. Okay, let's go up here. We got blood fusion.
It's like what the
Yeah,
Nakua
so
that are like
kind of like that lethal blow spec we were
orcs.
using. This is another way for
Renkai,
the
they're orcs.
fighter to get health
Yeah,
and mana
fair,
back to itself.
true.
That's kind of one way that the fighter sustains itself because it's in the thick of things, right? It's a primary target. You've got to be in danger to be doing a lot of what your kit does, and this is like one way the fighter can stay in the fight. And if you pop this, it's a big cooldown. But for the next 6 seconds, any damage you do will have a % returned as health and mana to you.
Okay, so let me.
That's good.
Somebody nuke me for like 500.
You go ahead, Shred.
Okay, I don't want to do it all at once.
Multiple 500s, like 3 500s.
And everybody do it at once.
I am going to deal some damage here to see how much I get back.
You got to be careful with an ability like that, though. You
Yep,
don't
so that
want,
last hit missed the
you
window,
don't want the healer to
but
be
you
not
got a
important.
good junk from your other attacks.
but at the same time,
the
your
value
fighter
of this
should
is
be
super
able to
variable
survive
based on when you use it. So
in the
if you
thick of
pop
it
in the
for
right
at least a
moment,
little
you got
bit.
a lot of targets around you.
Especially
You're,
whereas he's got
popping
the
your
gap closer
AOEs, like this is
to
gonna
go
get
in.
a ton more value.
your fighter players are going to be on single brain cell mode the
That's
moment
cool.
they see the
I
enemy.
like that. So it's an instant cast.
You
that
have
can
to
happen
be able to play
in the middle
around
of
that.
any ability
Giving them the
activation.
tools to survive a little
Right.
bit longer for your
Nice.
slow as fuck
You
cleric to
could,
get closer.
Like
Not
start
really a
your
good thing.
cataclysm and then pop that right.
But it shouldn't be
before
too
lands.
strong. You don't want to
That's cool.
obsolete the healer.
That is super cool.
Like I was with difficult respecting. I do too, to some extent.
Oh yeah, I see that. Okay, very nice. I like the effect.
At least
Effect
in the
looks
case
great.
of like PvP centric ones.
Got more of that blood theme.
Yes. I also love the audio for it. It's like you're consuming it a bit.
It's kind of neat looking, yeah.
All right, let me grab whatever
Like
this is.
14. I think 14 it's fine that it's not difficult respecking.
Bunch of stuff.
I mean, I guess it kind of is if you want to raid with every fucking class you play, but
Right in
like,
front of
Not
It's
you get my
respectful.
point. It's not too bad.
Okay,
But, like,
cool.
Arcade.
Let's skip Exert
I think
for now.
Arcade's
Let's go
maybe was a
to
little too
Lunging
heavy-handed.
Assault.
but it was closer to where I think
so
a
this is,
PvP MMO
like,
should be. You
gonna
should just
one
be
of
like,
your
oh,
first spenders
Archer isn't
of
working
your
for me.
resource.
It's time to go play Mage.
This spender is
I
more
mean,
for mobility.
hoping that everything's
It's a
balanced,
smaller
obviously.
spender. But whenever you use this, you will dash
Because then you
forward
just
a
play
short
whatever
distance and do an attack
beats,
at the end.
you know,
And
the
it's
circumstance
pretty
you're at, and you
freely
never really
usable. It
learn to be
doesn't
good at
have a
one
very long
thing.
cooldown.
Or,
It's just spending your resource. So the more resource you're generating, the more you're able to kind of reposition and
Yeah, you
dash
might-
around the battlefield and get some extra damage out
try
there.
not to talk over
I
too much.
see. Now, obviously, utilizing the resource with lunging assault, because you're dealing instances of damage to enemies that you impact, you have an opportunity, if executed well,
True.
situationally, that you can you can actually probably have a net gain with this if there's a huge amount of enemies, like a train or something, right?
Yeah, it would probably take a lot of enemies to actually get a profit, but you can at least mitigate the cost through that spec choice
Yeah.
of if you're hitting enemies, you can get resource back, and therefore you're getting to do this more.
Yeah, I think it should just
and
be
you're also
tied
not
mostly to
losing
like time
the value of your resource
and like
that
your
you're getting
investment,
passively through your
not
farms,
not
which,
necessarily like
again, we'll get to
anything
soon.
else. But
Cool. Okay, let's try this. There we go. And now I don't need a target for this. I can just kind of.
Nope, freely.
Let me
It's a
generate.
reposition.
Right.
That's
cool.
I don't know if I go that
Oh,
far,
okay.
but I guess it really. To be fair, we don't
Kind
really know
of,
how gearing's gonna work in
Not too
Ashes,
far
aside from
distance
crafting and world bosses.
Yeah, it's meant to like.
We don't
be
know how
more of a
difficult it's going to be in the
repositioner
long run,
where,
though.
You know,
So-
you're dancing around your target. You might be zipping back and forth between different enemies in melee.
Right.
Whereas you have other tools for going longer distances. You have blitz. You have the next one that's about to come up from here. So those are going to be more of your long distance.
think it
mobility
Kind of
skills.
does, but not
Alright, let me
not
try this.
not
This is
traditionally.
Long distance mobility skill here. Talk to me about leap strike.
And I think you are going to need to do multiple
Yeah, so this is
characters
like-
if you want to do other classes.
This is
I think you pick
the
your base class,
most,
and that's static,
free
look at
mobile.
and then you swap
distance.
between archetypes.
Yeah, it's very far, and it doesn't require a target, unlike Blitz. And you're also gonna basically deal damage and AOE around it. So
At least
it's
that's
just
my
a
current
more
understanding.
powerful but less frequently usable gap closer / opener if you even decide to use it as an opener.
Oh my god! I am the Juggernaut! Oh, that was so cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's a fun one to use. It's
Holy smokes.
definitely more AOE focused.
Definitely,
And again,
It's
guys, I
the
am
World of
using
Warcraft
zero
warrior,
cooldowns right
I
now
bet.
just so I can demonstrate the
you
abilities.
got your charge,
Well, I know you're all
and
thinking,
your
like,
heroic
what? This
leap.
character's just gonna fly around the battlefield. That's not what's happening.
Literal rocket.
I know.
You can actually use this too to go up on ledges. Like if you were to try and get up on one of these ledges we were trying earlier.
I like
Yeah.
that though.
You don't even need a
I
target
think
to use it.
your
Let me just check
warrior
whether there's
players
spec
are
options
going to be
here.
one brain cell in the thick of fighting.
not currently,
It's
but
just how
there
it's
will
going to
be.
be. They have to be straightforward.
Alright, let me try to
That's
jump
that's
up
what
on
players that play these classes want.
here.
Okay, he was maybe a
Oh,
little bit
that
too
was
far.
short.
I think
That
I
was
see
too
how that
short.
works.
My bad. Hold on, let me try it again.
Actually, and usually I've had more success when I'm covering gaps rather than actually like trying to go up different verticalities. But
There you go.
sometimes, yeah, it works.
Oh, we did it. We did it, boys.
It's going to be really funny when the dude does it at like max range, thinking he's chasing you,
Very cool.
and he just
Alright,
fucking
let's
hits the cliff
talk a little
face
bit
and,
about,
and goes nowhere.
You know, I thought I fixed time of day, but it feels like it's getting darker. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about.
I mean, they've got blink and some slowing
next up,
capabilities, so that is
these
possible.
different.
But yeah, you're right. There
forms
needs to be
that
something
I've
to counter it for certain.
Yeah, so these are probably the biggest contributors to your combat
Yeah,
momentum resource. You can spend momentum, but it's a resource that's primarily meant
That's a fair
to
point,
be
Espen.
built up and maintained because of the bonuses that
14
these
kind of
forms
has a bit
provide.
of that, doesn't it?
So if we want to just look at one of the first ones here, we can go into a little more detail
Sometimes
on how
anyway.
those work.
I'm actually gonna make it a little bit. Whoops. My bad. I wanted to change the time of day slightly. Get some better light over here. There we go. Apologies.
Yeah, I think fighter gear should
okay.
just be like
Which one am I
less
switching to?
bulky. but
anyone
tank
you
armor
want.
should make you
We'll
look
get through all of them.
Go to,
like your armor is too
I am
heavy to
playing
move in,
Renkai,
at least in a
so
fantasy sense, right?
ferocity sounds good. Ooh.
All right. So now you'll notice in the top left here, he
Hot
is
take.
in this form.
Healers should have a bit of metal to their
so
armor. They shouldn't be all
As
cloth.
long as you don't change forms, you will permanently remain in the form of ferocity. We
And
actually
then paladins
renamed
should
this
be
recently,
more
so
in
you'll see
line with like
Tempest
fighter
there,
and tank
but,
in the way
that
they
went
look.
through a rename.
Maybe a hot
so
take, but
while in this form, your momentum will increase your attack speed the higher your momentum is. So for every point of momentum that you've got, your attack speed's going up. So you're basically ramping up that attack speed as you generate.
So where I see right now, I'm at 86.9.
Yep.
Let's generate some momentum.
Your weapon combos are pretty good for generating momentum as well, especially your finishers. There you go.
Okay, 86.9 has gone to 99.2.
Yep.
Up, and it's dropping. Very
oh,
nice.
okay.
You got to
So
stay in
you
combat
don't always
to
want
keep
to
the
spend your
resource going.
momentum. Actually, I didn't even. Actually, now thinking
But
about
that's
it.
really what the fighter's all about, is like ramping up, being in that combat momentum. hence the
Maybe
name.
you don't even spend your momentum.
and
Actually, now
when
thinking about
fights-
it.
Wow, it feels like that the attack speed is even.
I just assumed they
increasing
were this whole
each
time. I don't think they
individual
have been.
ability speed as well.
Yep.
I've been a little distracted with chat,
That's
I'll admit.
huge.
So if I'm sounding really stupid
is
here,
super cool.
apologies.
So if you were to change forms, you would lose the attack speed bonus, but immediately gain the bonus
Ooh.
of the corresponding form.
Alright, very cool.
So if you want to shift V into maybe a form of celerity here,
Alright, and that is on shift.
So
V.
you're talking about DBs. I agree.
there you go. Now run around.
It was
You might have to
definitely one of
blitz
those
it
moments
again.
where
You
like
probably need to get some mana and then.
Blizzard did
build it up
not
a
pay
little
attention to
more,
the way the
Oh my
players were playing the class.
But this one increases your movement speed, so this lets you just move around the battlefield a lot more nimbly. So if you need to, like, close the gap a little bit and your gap closers are on cooldown or whatever, this is a good way of traversing the field a bit faster.
Yeah. Wow, this is pretty quick.
Oh,
That's a significant speed boost.
I won't lie. Fighter does look like something I might play. I do kind of
And then the
like
third one
ramping
is,
stuff like that.
More of a defensive option, a bit more situational, but it is a disable resistance form. This is form of fluidity, and while you're in it, you are much more difficult to be CC'd. So you're more resistant to stuns, to roots, trips, pretty much anything that falls into the CC category.
Try to sleep me or something?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. There's a chance that I'll still hit you, but
I will
we'll
say-
see. I can't actually. I'm in your party.
Oh, okay, no, it's okay.
It's nice that they're
Alright, so this is
showcasing things
basically when
in a
you
way
want
that isn't
to,
too janky, but
to literally be unstoppable through CC effects. Like this is going to be a 40%.
I wouldn't be too
reduction on
bothered
that.
if the
That's
mage
pretty-
just
that's
fucked
pretty
with them a
powerful.
little bit, put them to sleep.
Yep. And again, all the numbers are kind of in tune or being tuned. We just when we're testing
And
these
nuked
out,
them,
we
killed
want them to
them
feel
once.
impactful, just to validate that they are, cool things, and then we start to balance to tone that back down.
Very cool. All right. All right. Last but most certainly not least is an ability called God Mode. I mean, excuse me. What's it called? I'm sorry. Exert?
This is Exert. Yes, it's
just
my,
wanna-
my
Let me pull up my
No,
GM
your
console.
segue. Actually, it's a great segue.
Yep.
So speaking of balance and what will be happening, obviously, with Alpha 2 and even before Alpha 2, we'll be balancing some of this stuff. So just keep that in mind. However, segue here into God Mode, aka Exert. We have what?
So if we go over here to in the skill tree to the left, Exert, this is a very high cost, very high payoff, like essentially like super mode that you can go into, and you're rapidly spending your momentum while you're in this form. It's all or nothing. You can't turn it off. Once you pop this, you will stay in this mode until your momentum is fully drained, and then you're gonna have to build it all the way back up again.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you're getting increased attack speed. You're getting CC immunity, and whatever else it says in here.
We've got 20% increased attack and movement speed.
Yeah, that's
and
something they're gonna have to tone
immunity
back.
to disabling effects while
so-
active.
Save that for like augments.
So if you can kind
so
of
it
draw the
requires like an
connection,
increased
this is
amount of
like
skill point.
you're taking the 3 forms, which are CC resistance,
investment?
movement speed, and attack speed, and getting just all 3 of them
Maybe?
in a huge burst for a small window of time.
Very small window. Yes.
Yep.
And that small window is potentially, as it states here, at least it would be about 5 seconds if you're fully
5 seconds of CC
charged
immunity?
up on momentum, because it's essentially ticking at 20% per second. Is that right?
Yep.
let's
And
talk-
again,
yeah,
all the
go ahead.
numbers are super tunable.
Absolutely.
We
Yes,
will be
yes.
tuning these numbers, but we're just kind of putting them in a place where we can playtest them. And as we get more effective with these, it's like, okay, now we're seeing the ceiling of how powerful these things are. We're going to bring it back a little bit.
Let's talk about its spec options.
I'd rather them try them out when they're busted
So we've
and
got
tweak them back a little bit.
one that resets your cooldowns based on how much momentum you had at activation. So if you
For
use
certain
this
things
at
like this?
50 momentum, you would take about half of your cooldowns off. But if you use it at full momentum, you would reset all your cooldowns, so you could just go straight into your rotation upon popping this. And then this one is lets it act as a CC break as well.
So this, okay, I like this. This is a nice comment. So you get increased combat momentum with movement, attack speed, and the immunity to disabling effects. And it becomes a CC break on activation if you're under the effects of CC. And depending on the amount, percentage-wise, of momentum you have available at time of activation, potentially will reset your ability cooldowns as well. This is obviously, guys, I know a lot of you out there right now are just probably going insane in chat, and I'm assuming that. This is where we balance. Everything's going to be balanced,
future
right?
predictions.
This is just the initial find the fun, and we're going to work around balance here. But this is a cool ability. This is literally
For
like super
Alpha
I am
and
a
beta, mind
fighter.
you. I would rather
Give me
them go
war.
big and tune back
Glory
Have
be.
you
rather
used
than
it?
do that at
No,
launch.
I haven't.
At launch,
Gotta show it.
Yeah, let's do this.
they should be
Let's do
buffing things to be in line.
So I guess
Before that, they
in
should be
order
nerfing things to be in
properly
line.
do this, I should
It's
actually
kind
set
of my
cooldowns
philosophy
back.
on
Do you have it fully spec?
early development versus
I do. I have
like
it
live
fully
development.
spec'd.
Keenan, do you
Um,
have condemn?
Obviously,
on your
nerf
bar.
things if they genuinely need it, but
Hey,
like
grab it real
don't
quick.
don't go overboard with
Yeah,
that
that's
shit,
a
right?
stun. We could kind of we'll have
Because
Keenan
alpha and
condemn
beta is
you,
where we're
and then you'll
fucking
just
around and nobody gives a
break out
shit.
of
You
it
can make things
after your
busted
full
and
momentum.
it doesn't hurt
Yeah, let me
anybody's
get
play.
let me start generating that.
Like, it's all getting
that
wiped
shit.
later anyways. So who the fuck cares, right? That's how I look at it, anyways.
Oh, and I gotta get off this form.
So
of
I'm
food.
okay with
Let's
it.
Go to
And I'm glad that they touched on the fact that they will nerf the shit out of it
ferocity. Yeah,
if
let's do
necessary,
ferocity.
or even potentially probably even remove it. They didn't say that, but you give them a
probably
point.
blitz him for a head start on momentum into an overpower.
Keep an eye on your mana. Let me know when you're ready to be stunned.
I
Okay, I'm almost
heard
up
a
there.
rumor. I don't know if they said it themselves, but I heard it from someone else. Is the reason why I'm saying this.
But
That
before you stun
there
me,
is a
let me,
bit more to the showcase than just
some abilities.
the new
I
orc
am
model
feeling that
and the fighter showcase.
Just don't kill him.
I'm curious. I don't
I'm not.
remember exactly what it was. I think it was something to do with the nodes.
All right,
there's a
now you
beacon.
can stun
So
me.
All right, stun him up. All right, use it.
ooh,
Oh, you don't have? Did you not spec it?
Oh, I thought I did.
uh
I thought I
oh,
did spec it.
is it not working?
Let's try it again.
Well, let's check the tree. If
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
do
good
There might be
point,
an
Steven.
issue
Open the damn tree.
Did I spec it? Did I spec it? I do have it spec'd.
Oh, is it not
when that
working?
used to work.
Let's double check. Hold on. Let's try one more time, and I'll click on it this time. In case there was some finger shenanigans happening. All right, I'm ready.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, I had an expression failure. Sad.
All right, well, let's use it without that. That used to work.
My bad. Guys, welcome to Bugs.
Yep.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's early development. I ain't
Okay.
gonna. I'm not gonna fret.
Let's show.
It is a
now
little
it's
funny that it
balanced.
didn't work for
See,
the showcase.
game wouldn't
though.
even allow that level of imbalance. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let me generate this up again. Get some,
Even the game knew it was too powerful. So I should kind of take it back. I made the joke earlier that it's momentum's just been renamed Rage.
And
It really
let's do
isn't.
Shift 2.
There's some similarities, obviously. Ooh, that drains fast.
Oh, that's cool. I love that effect.
Okay, so
That
it's not
effect looks
quite like
great.
5 seconds. But it's actually quite
Show that
fast.
effect one more time
So if you
on that
kite
kind of
during
thing,
that and don't let them build momentum, it'll go like, quicker.
Okay.
Actually, not too
Let me set
bad.
the cooldowns real quick one more time.
Balance-wise, that
And
actually
is
doesn't
there-
seem
can
nearly
do
as bad as I
max,
thought it would be.
Momentum? Or no?
There's a debug ability for it, but I would just say blitz
No,
into
it's
overpower
really.
and then
That's what I'm saying.
overpower is the
It's
best way to do it.
it's similar, but it doesn't
That's
look like you
me.
use it for
Big rate, but-
abilities. It's not actually a resource that you spend. It's a resource that goes up and then drains, and drains faster depending on certain things. But
I hold still.
oh wait, sorry.
I
When
just
you
keep
said
this going all
adrenaline,
the
my brain
time.
went to fucking
I got
World
no
War. You're
cooldowns.
talking about Guild Wars 2 again.
Yeah.
Or, not again. Sorry, I was thinking
Now
of
we're
World of
cheating.
Warcraft again. You're talking about Guild Wars 2.
That is
You're
so
right. You're
good.
right. Actually, yeah, it's closer
it's so
to
good.
adrenaline than it is rage, but it is still different though.
Very cool. All right, well,
Actually, fuck, now that I
that
think about it,
is a
adrenaline's probably
very,
changed
let
since
me
I last
just
played
say,
Guild
I'm
Wars 2.
sorry, let me
So,
speak on behalf of what I assume is our audience saying, holy shit, that is a cool class. I mean, the archetype feels great. The movement, the fluidity is there.
It really
feels
just
really
looks
good
like,
just to play with these skills.
and I don't say this to be
well
mean.
done, guys. Well
I don't
done.
say this
For
to,
Alpha
to,
2, this
to
is
like
feeling nice.
downplay or
as
to be
a
an
player on
asshole
this
in any
melee.
capacity.
Obviously, that mobility is.
It does give me a lot of World of
traversing the
Warcraft
battlefield.
warrior vibes.
And,
in a good
and
way.
Being that juggernaut class fantasy feeling, I think is really.
But let's be
captured
real.
well here. What do you guys?
People
say
really liked
we
Warrior
take
and
a
WoW.
look at Oakenbane and kind of.
It is a
work
pretty
through
solid
that area
baseline.
and show people off a little bit of the world of Vera.
There's definitely
Yep,
some
let's put
classes
the
from
kid to
WoW
the
that I would
test.
not copy.
Did you want to talk about the
110%
weapons
sure.
first?
Oh
or-
my god,
But, like-
you're right. Thank you. Yes. Okay, you guys.
And it's not a
obviously
one-to-one
see
either.
here
There's
we
some
have
stuff
got
there
a
that's
pretty
definitely
beefy-looking,
unique.
Sword that I have equipped, and Brian.
Like
and the
there's some
combat
like
team
blood
have been
DK like
working
shit
a
going
lot
on there
on
too
skill
with the
skill
blood
progression
fusion or
trees
whatever it was called.
for weapons.
So.
You saw a hint of that in its very bare bones form with the Ranger update, but there's been a lot of work towards that weapon tree. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So we've been revamping the weapon tree entirely. So the first point of progression here is we wanted to give people a choice in how long their weapon combo
Oh, Marsh,
actually
this is one of the things you're gonna
so
like.
you've got the base weapon combo that you start with on the greatsword, which is 3 attacks, and you can extend that out into 4 attacks if you want. In addition to that, both the 3rd hit and the 4th hit can have proc finisher attacks, and those proc finisher attacks can trigger additional effects on you, such as an additional heal effect, a boost of momentary attack speed.
And I'm looking here,
Yep.
Brian. So when I go over to the left-hand side, and it has me to kind of an option, right? I'm unlocking this node and selecting down one of these 4 choices. And for those of you who are watching and perhaps don't recall the use case here of these weapon skill trees, these are
Yeah.
separate
Regretting not having
progression
sugar to put in
trees that you unlock and advance within as you are using and adventuring with a particular weapon type, right, Brian?
Correct. And yeah, they'll advance faster than your archetype tree, so you'll be able to level up a couple weapons as you're going along.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun to do, actually.
Yeah, and
being
And that
stuck
section
with
that you're
one
looking at
weapon.
now is probably the most work in progress part. I still need to revamp this passive section. It's pretty weak overall, but yeah, this version 0, you could choose between different modifications that would best fit your class. You could choose between a little bit of deflection bonus, which is avoidance, some I think crit damage, accuracy.
So each node you're kind of choosing
I like this.
a
I
different.
think
I see.
an
Very
MMO
cool.
with some
Yeah, that's
truly deep
Yeah, right now
character
they're all the same.
customization
I'm gonna mix
something
up
that we
a
just
little bit and
do
make it
not
more
have
interesting with some different capstone passes.
We just
and such.
don't.
But yeah,
WoW
this side's way more
14
interesting, way
both
more
have
fleshed
very
out. So what you just
static.
clicked on there is the first proc that you'll get access
And to be
to.
fair, there's nothing wrong with it being static.
And you have a choice
not
between
throwing any shade
3
in
of
it.
these things. The first is
I guess Guild Wars
Swordmaster
2's got quite a
Swiftness.
bit of
This is a
customization.
temporary boost of
But
attack
let's be
speed.
real, a lot of that
So
customization
if you get
kind of
this
fake.
proc, and then you can instantly use another ability or continue in your combo if you want, and it'll trigger that next ability all the quicker.
And to talk a little bit about, obviously reiterating again, kind of, these proc effects. These essentially are the incentive loops for why weapon combo attacks, which are basic weapon attacks, are the fillers between rotational effects, because you are getting, as you unlock progression within these trees, you are getting substantial benefit from procs that occur by using the basic weapon combo.
Right. I should speak on that a little bit more in like a general concept. So we want to encourage weaving between abilities and weapon combo attacks, and we're going to do that in a few different ways that you'll be seeing in this stream. The first way is archetype weapon combo interactions. You've already seen some of that where the finishers give you a burst of momentum.
I'm excited when I hear them talking
And
about this,
overpower
I'm
and
not gonna
brutal
lie.
cleave
Just
get reduced or reset cooldowns on combo end as well. The second type of interaction is weapon combo to ability
feeling out
proc
this game is gonna
synergies,
feel
such
good, I
as
think.
direct damage on the next ability
As long
hit
as they nail.
after a combo
Obviously,
finisher,
early
or a
development,
status
things can
effect
change,
setup
but-
for ability use. And the third version is ability to weapon combo proc synergy. So this is deeper in the tree. Your abilities will have a chance to set up your next weapon finisher with additional effects.
Very cool. That is awesome. So let's see, which one should I go for here?
I'd go with the swiftness for the fighter.
All right, let's do it. Effect
And the,
duration, huh?
Yeah, that's actually really strong because it's a very short burst of attack speed, so the duration's really good there, and also the proc chance. I'd probably max out the proc chance one in the middle, and then get the duration. That's probably strongest for the swiftness.
All right. And now I've already gone and unlocked this path here of the extended finishers.
Yeah, you could probably take some points out of the extra damage nodes, and then put them into.
I've never heard you say that before. This is
Well,
blasphemous.
it's only because you're getting even more damage through the procs potentially.
Okay.
It's all more math and less math, right?
That's true. That is true.
And another thing
Very
here is it all
reductionist point of
depends
view,
on your
yes.
build. All depends on your build, and you'll see that more in this next choice here, which is a lot more interesting. So that first one was like a kind of introduction to the proc system. It's kind of a more just additive extra thing. This is kind of not forcing the weaving, but encouraging the weaving a little bit harder. So first we got second strike. So your next ability use after a weapon combo finisher has an additional damage proc that occurs.
I think weaving was
And
my
then
favorite
another
part.
a good choice for DPS is the one
of
right
playing
below
Deathknight
that,
WoW
which is perfect timing.
and Samurai
so the
and
next
14.
ability you cast will have reduced
So-
cooldown. So it's kind of like, do you care about that reduced cooldown for your rotation, or do you not? And you just take the additional damage. And the third option there, unfortunately, it's not working yet. This is expanding upon that status effect interaction stuff. That's what we're working on imminently, getting that built into the weapons. But whenever this is working, it'll apply burning to your target and have additional interactions for the
I love
mage.
that. That's cool. That's awesome.
Oh,
And now-
so that's like
you
one that
guys are
doesn't do anything on
starting
its
to see-
own, but if you have
Obviously,
someone,
a lot of these
like a mage, let's
these
say, in
progression
your
trees
party,
getting
there's a chance for that to be
implemented
really helpful.
and you're not just.
Or
this is not just obviously for the greatsword.
If you're
but you
playing a
have
fighter
done this,
mage archetype,
in parity with the other
Okay.
existing weapon classes.
I'm glad that
for
that shit exists.
Part of A2's entrance criteria, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the
It'll be
really
very
cool
niche.
things about our game is the amount of
Probably.
weapon choice that's going to be
That's
present. All the weapons will be hopefully viable for almost every archetype, because you can specialize it in a certain way that will benefit you and what your archetype role is. So there obviously be certain things that are better for other things, like a two-hander is going to do a lot of damage, for instance, but and you
Yeah, if
might
you don't
want to
do a lot of
shield if you're
physical
taking
damage,
a
you
lot
might
of
not want to use a
damage,
two-handed
but
sword.
still, if you want to break
You
that
could.
mold a little bit,
You probably don't want it.
you'll have options.
So like a
available.
mage.
Just to
let's say.
expand that on that a little bit too, it's like not even just archetype and weapon synergy, but also it's like
They're more like Elder Scrolls and Elder
you're
Scrolls
building
Online.
based on your expected or intended comp that you're always going to be or often going to be running. It's like, let's say your friend rolls
Sorry,
a
that's
mage,
my
and it's like,
saltiness
I
coming
want
out.
to
Don't mind me.
build with my friends, so I know they are a fire mage, and that's where your burning blade example comes in. Like, there's going to be more stuff like that, so that you're just kind of playing off each other.
That
Yeah.
segues really good into the next proc that we have here. So this is your abilities setting up your next weapon combo. So we've got 3 options here. The first is Keen Edge.
True.
So whenever this procs, your next weapon combo will have a 100% chance to crit. The next option, which if you have a bard in your party, you might not
No
want
idea
this
what the life
one,
cycle
but it
of
causes
Ashes
your
will
next
look like they'll
ability
do fresh
finisher
starts every
to
6 months.
restore some mana to yourself.
Like Arcade, or if they'll
And then the third one
do rolling
is,
content
and
updates similar to like other
we're not
MMOs.
sure about where this is going to end up. It might get moved over to the tank tree or the mace tree, but it procs a bit of temp health
But
on the next weapon finisher. It's pretty sweet tank option.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
it's gonna be nice to be to like branch out. And I
that's a
really hope they
solid
give
choice.
like
All attack speed crit.
some form of
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I feel like I want to
incentive to do so in certain cases.
DPS beast mode.
I know we were just talking earlier about
this out now.
not having it be too
Very cool.
easy to
That's
swap.
awesome.
Awesome.
This is,
But
yeah, this is a.
There should still be the
I think
option
people,
to swap.
just the complexities that you guys
Or
again,
too
talking
easy to
about.
swap.
Like obviously,
I think it's not hard.
we've been
My bad.
talking about
Brain's not fully
weapon
fired
skill
up enough.
trees and archetype design, since we first were talking about Ashes back in 2017, and now we're seeing in fruition to part of the systems that we are going to be debuting as part of Alpha 2. You guys are going to be able to get your hands on this and kind of give us that active feedback. How does this level of depth and complexity grant you, the player, more granular control and choice over how your role that you're playing fits into the greater comp of the party setting, the raid setting, or solo gameplay.
It depends
and
on how they balance it.
right?
If there's
Like,
a very
all of that is
clear
a level of
stoic
depth,
meta,
I think, that
then it's just
players
all for naught,
want
and then they might as well
to
just not fucking do it in the first place.
exist in space
But
wise,
if
because
things
it gives
are
them
balanced in
freedom
such a way that like
to really define the way
certain
they're approaching
circumstances,
the difficulty
certain
challenge
situations,
that is the game.
other
and that
options
is
will
combat
shine
in
more than
general.
others,
That's super
then
cool, and especially like this breadth of options, right?
I fucking love it.
even
I
the
think it's great.
horizontal choices here, like that creates a very interesting playground of rock paper scissors effects between the multitude of archetype skill progression and weapon type skill progression that you're going to experience even in a PvP setting. And it also is just more levers that we get to pull on the encounter design section as well.
True.
For PvE. Very cool.
That's actually
Well
a good
done,
point.
guys. This
And I
is,
hope they
think
stick to that.
Again, I speak for the community when I say
Don't like sit on their hands with it, kind of deal.
great progress. Very great progress. And Alpha 2 is shaping up to be not just a great testing experience, but a lot of fun, I think. Obviously the world and the combat design here is significant.
The last thing I want to highlight is the work that we've done on the animation side with the weapon combos. So if you actually do your weapon combo in place here, we can see it. We can see whenever you get, so you got a stab hit there. Whenever you get stab hits on the third and the fourth hit, those are actually procs. So if you connect with the second hit of that proc hit, you'll receive the additional effects. But you actually have to connect with a monster or player to receive the effect.
Alright, what do you
And I think
fuckers
the
stand
proc
up and get in
rate
front of me?
is at a static 25% right now. We're looking at other ways to scale that, like maybe it scales with stat, or maybe it scales with additional nodes, but right now it's kind of low.
Beating on the ranger, poor ranger.
Especially
Steven-
if you're unlucky, like Steve.
Physically abusing
really, what's going
his,
on here?
his employees.
Come on.
I'm sure we'll see it in combat.
No, I think he just has
There
it
it
turned
is.
on for the test.
Okay.
I don't think they'll be coming.
And these guys,
I mean,
we're still missing
interesting,
some
but
effects
for a
that are
game
gonna
like
help
this, I feel like that
drive,
would be too much.
what this? Oh my god!
Smoked.
I'm so sorry. I just was like relentless attack.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, the momentum and the bonus attack speed on the greatsword stacking together
Oh, that
smoked
was
me.
good. That was good. Let's see. So
Oh,
sorry.
you're corrupted.
He's also level 15.
Did I go corrupt?
You did.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
boy.
no.
Well, it should be fine as long as we're in a party. Speaking of which, we should form the party.
Yes. Well, yeah, let's get this going. We can talk more while we're
Yep.
moving.
just-
Are you guys disbanded?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, another thing we can talk about when we're moving is we did revamp the animation a little bit. We made it work with the weight of the greatsword a little bit more, so you'll see like more precise pose holding, and it's less of a lumbering beast than it once was. We're kind of leaving that space for the mace and the axe, but it really feels like a sword now to me. It's awesome.
Can I also show off
One
one other thing?
Steam. Rip.
The environment team and the engineering team, and Keenan, I think you were part of this as well, obviously, between the ability system and the interactable environments. Something that I have not seen happen really very often as part of MMO level design is destructible assets. We have that in and running. I want to see if I can destroy these.
I'm gonna call him out on that one.
Oh,
There's plenty
Wait,
of MMOs
somebody else
with destructible environments. At least
They just have,
tangentially,
like, a
right?
cone of cold.
I think so. Oh, that was good. That was hilarious.
I don't think
I'll find some other tents.
Guild Wars does or Arcade, but I know
There we
BDO does.
Don't forget to put your helmet on.
Oh, should I put my helmet on? Do I put the helmet
Actually,
on?
fuck, no, hold
a
on. I might
cool
take that
looking
back. Actually, I think about it. I think I just I'm BDO brained. I played too much
That's
BDO
a
and
cool way to solve
it's
cross
skewing my
anyway.
thoughts. Fuck.
That's true. Let me put
Always
my-
wear a helmet.
No, I
WoW
mean, you can
doesn't.
just kill him.
14 doesn't.
Oh, that's pretty
If he had been wearing
Don't
his helmet
think
when
Guild
you were
Wars 2
attacking him,
does.
Oh. Love it.
Not everything. Yeah.
Oh, we need to talk
Okay.
to the scout first.
I mean,
don't
it,
Yeah.
I
we should
suppose
grab the quest.
even if you just talk like World v.
Scout,
World,
that's
there's some
right.
stuff. You're right. You're right.
Okay, so you guys remember
The giant
at
rocket.
the end of our
man.
commissions live
Very
stream last
true.
month. This was Oakenbank.
True.
I just kind of came up to the entrance here. I didn't want to go inside because this story arc. See if I have actually information on the story arc. Here we go. So we are part of the Ancient Violence story arc, which is an inhuman threat in the Riverlands. And so it talks about a little bit the settlers of Vera have known of a constant struggle with the goblins that overran the ancestral Kalar lands. And while we know nothing about
But yeah, I guess
their
it's not as widespread as I
capabilities,
thought. That was kind of how I was getting at. Yeah.
it is important that we now
It's still cool.
find them
I ain't
throwing
talking shit.
themselves at Lionhold's paltry defenses. Lionhold being one of the introductory locations right near the portal area in the Riverlands.
My shirt keeps sticking to me. dude. I'm sweating too
And
much.
Captain Avon Moore
Too warm in here.
needs help assessing the scope of that threat.
We don't really know what the gearing will be like yet.
Interesting. And we also have here what appears to be a side quest, Scout Yoren.
To my knowledge, anyways. I mean, I feel like I try to
Stop
follow
you,
the game
what does he have
as
here?
closely as I can, but there's definitely bits and pieces
Once
I've
a
probably
great
missed here.
place of our ancestors now is overrun. We shall do something about this. Alright, he's been charged with observing. I would be happy to take some of your dispensation as pay.
I'll be back
So he
when
wants us
it's
to kill
done.
20 of the goblins here in Oakenbane. We've already dispatched a few of them. Alright, accept that. Okay, we got the ancestral
Man,
revenge.
Steven's looking for voice acting.
Let's do this.
I'm a fan of the project. I give him a discount.
What we got going on over here?
Honestly, if I thought it was feasible to do it for free, I'd do it for free.
Oh, that guy. He's just kind of.
He's just
flipping
fucking
around
chilling,
there.
Steven. Jesus Christ. So rude.
Ooh, this is feeling moody.
Just staying in his own lane.
It's feeling moody. All right, not too
Jesus.
bad.
That was a very GTA statement.
So now, Of your guys' experiences in MMOs, how many of you actually mained as a fighter?
Me. I think I'm the only one here.
I would love to
I
do
know
some free
everyone
voice
here
acting
has
for
played
like
fighter,
indie
but
projects.
I love playing fighters. Like they're kind of my first choice.
You know,
The issue is that
oh, hold on. I
having
see
a
that
singular
there's
voice actor
a-
doesn't really do much for a project. So unless
a
they're willing to have
squirrel
voice actors
nearby.
in general,
Oh my god.
doesn't really
I
work
already
like
caught my
that.
blizzard too.
Also, being paid is nice too, but you know, some projects ain't got the money.
We got drags here, nice.
Oh yeah, this is
What is this
named
guy?
mob. It's a named mob. We'll have to be sure to loot him after we kill him.
Yeah, Steven needs to
Oh,
do them.
GTA is pulling what I did for Elden Ring.
Why are you guys saying that?
Bought the
It's
collector's
almost like
edition.
something happened.
Yeah,
my digital
we don't
only
have any like
PS5.
ninja looters in this group for sure.
Now, some of you guys are seeing that the effects of that big explosion. That is still effects that are being authored right now, but that is specifically a progression. Oh, that guy was pretty strong.
This is the technique
That is specifically a status
Playboy.
progression, is that right?
That's all that reminded me of.
Oh, I got something.
Wait.
Mr.
Okay,
Pandaria
there
lives
you go.
rent free in my head, dude, and I would like it to get out. It's been there too long.
I got some, looked like, let me see if I can find that, hold on. What do we got here? A toy soldier legs. Legs of an ancient toy soldier that survived well past when it ought to have, thanks to ancient magics within. Can be reassembled with other pieces. Okay, cool.
Magic toys.
So sorry, I was talking about the conflagrate.
Yeah, so one thing you'll be noticing a lot on the mage is I'm throwing out different elements of projectiles. Like here's a fireball, and then after that you'll see my weapon combo is throwing out little fire projectiles. As we showed in the
Oh, that's
previous
neat.
mage live stream,
So they're giving mages a reason to use their weapon attacks, too.
A little bit how that works. Now, on the finisher attack of every combo,
That's good. I feel like
you
mages
get
end up
the
getting
element
skewed into
based on what
caster
your
only
infused
mode.
element is.
When in reality,
And then
that's
you can use certain
not
abilities
always
to
that fun.
promote that from burning to like
Depends on the
conflagrate
player,
in
obviously,
The
but-
case that you were seeing
Oh my
here.
god.
Ooh,
There's a
ow!
lot.
Ooh.
So you'll see me doing
Ran out
that
of
here and
mana.
there.
I need to give myself some mana.
Yeah, and that's a concept that we're applying to all the classes. On the tank, we recently moved. They used to generate courage and apply stagger on every hit. We moved that all to the combo end as well, which is really nice because that allows us to normalize these effects across multiple different weapon types and really make true our promise of weapon choice.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to, put too much emphasis on attack speed for proc rate, and there's other ways to do that. You can normalize chance and all that stuff, but we also just thought, like, from a gameplay perspective, it is really cool to like make you have to commit to
Ooh,
that
things are
final
kind of getting choppy.
hit. It just kind of makes it feel a little bit more like you're working towards something rather than just getting something on every attack.
I'm actually kind of
Yeah.
okay with it. If
initial
the game's
thought
gonna
was
lag
that
in a
the additional
slowdown,
flexibility was good with the tank playstyle, but
rather
having
than
an
like
additional thing
choppy
to chase
frame
mid-rotation
freezing,
is turning out pretty well.
We got an
That's a bit better.
here.
would prefer it not to lag at all.
Dude.
Obviously.
Looks like some. Oh, this is This is. We saw this guy before. He was in our last time we showed Oakenbane Keep. An armored shade floats before you, incapable of speech. It, however, does extend a translucent arm to hand you a corporeal letter.
My letter now.
I've received a letter. Okay, let's take a look at what this letter does. The paper in this letter is inked on what feels so old that it could disintegrate. Against time and your gentle handling, it holds together. That sounds like I should open this letter. Though the letter is ancient, the text in it is clearly legible. Papa. Oh, no, wait, no. Papa. Mama says we won't be able to visit anymore. After we've through the portal... Oh, shit, I messed that up. I should have read this before.
C-.
I know, I'm sorry,
C-.
sorry. Okay, wait.
All right.
Papa, Mama says we won't be able to visit anymore after we leave through the portal. Didn't feel right to leave you alone, so I'm leaving you my bravest toy soldier. Oh, that was the toy soldier piece we found. To help you and the others here fight off the demons coming for us. I hate to tell you, kid, I don't think that toy soldier's gonna help. I'm getting too old for toys. I know. His name is Troy. Oh, I love always Troy.
We have respawns here.
The word Og is written in blood across the back of the paper 4 distinct times. Sounds interesting. Oh. It's going to give me some experience. Deliver the toy to the Forgotten Soldiers memorial site. Okay, so we need to find a memorial site. Oh, that's sad.
Oh, so this would be before the world was forsaken. A little bit of lore.
I love the banners.
The point of Ashes is that we're a group, well, several groups, distinctly from the different racial backgrounds, are finally pouring back out into the world.
I also love the ambience
proper
of
to reclaim it after like an extreme amount of time. I don't remember the exact amount of time offhand, but so that's probably a quest from before the people left the realm.
We're mopping these goblins up.
Originally.
Oh yeah.
Animation could be better on that, but that's neat.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of playtest cycles in this area, getting it good. So we're pretty experienced.
Yeah, we have had many deaths in this area, but yeah, what kills you gets you stronger, right?
Yep.
I think that's how it goes.
That wasn't close.
Yeah.
No. Guys, I want to talk about another thing that we always are keeping in mind towards Alpha 2. Whoops. Keeping in mind towards Alpha 2 is performance testing. That's something that PI has been helping us test, and there's another PI test happening, I think, next week, which is both the visual performance that you're seeing within the game world from a rendering perspective, as well as from a networking perspective on the servers as well. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of benefits there because it is something that is happening now. And teams have been putting a lot of work towards that.
That's good to hear. I mean, I'm not worried about it. Even if Alpha 2
Get a little
lags
mana
and
back
has some
there.
weird performance
No, I
issues,
have no
it's
mana,
fucking
I'm so
Alpha.
sorry.
I'm not.
Just
Now, if it launches and those issues are still there, I'm gonna bitch and moan and be very
you do
annoyed.
have blood fusion
But
if you so choose.
in testing
that's right,
phases,
I forgot about blood fusion.
that's to
I
be
should
expected.
use that.
I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, next AoE pack you could use that with
So that
Whirlwind
gives
and see how that works.
50% back of damage done as mana.
Yep, so round all these guys up and pop it and start AoEing.
Oh,
It would help if you
yeah,
hit them,
good
Steven.
call.
Come on,
I
man.
forgot about that.
Nice.
From my understanding, and from what little I know, Steven's
By
not
the way,
really a
this area
melee
looks
guy.
Great during the ancient violence.
So, probably makes sense. He's not that good at it, but
Alright, it
I
looks
digress.
like we got something up here on our right.
Wolves up front, let's get them. Let's do this. What do we got?
Incoming.
oh, that almost looks
So
like
we
an
got
ambush.
Alpha Wolf up top. Try to pull him down.
I see this alpha wolf up there. I'm going for him.
Fulfilled. Oh! That still looks really fun. It looks a little janky, but it still looks fun.
Who's alpha? Who's this guy talking about alpha?
Player on me.
Okay, I'm getting that mana back. Oh, what do we got here?
No?
Player?
Yep, he's dead though.
I gotta say, I one thing that I'm already kind of impressed by, and maybe this is one of those moments of like, this should be the norm, and I shouldn't be impressed by it. But considering a lot of fucking games I've played recently have had this
Oh,
issue,
do I need to loot that?
Yeah, let's loot him.
enemy diversity is pretty good.
Right here.
I mean, we're seeing wolves and goblins here,
Guys,
and before, you know, we've seen
All right.
Minotaur,
Material.
They have, like, a
the
little
different
den
kinds of
here.
Minotaur
What's
that
that?
exist, and
Let's go behind.
what
it.
else? I mean, in several of the like little mini
Sneak
like
in.
Yeah.
bee.
Also.
Infiltration.
Oh, why is brain not working? Footage that wasn't really part of showcases.
Oh, should we go up here?
Go
Does
along
the
the
wall connect?
walls?
Let's try it.
I think there's mobs up there too, but we
They've shown off quite a bit too.
No, it looks like there's a break.
Actually,
in
the
the
tank
wall.
showcase they showed off
Further down.
some different kinds of enemies too.
Oh, yeah, there's a flare up there too. Be careful.
It's a good plan though.
So there's quite a bit going on. Can't tell you the number of fucking video games I've played recently where it's like
Yep.
1 or 2 enemy
Alright,
types, or
sleeping.
New World where it's like 5
We're gonna
across
jump on that?
the entire world.
Hold up. Oh.
When it was like falling crush. Rear. I can't even remember. It wasn't very many though, and it fucking sucked.
We're doing it.
There's a
Damage from
another
the
problem
back.
with
We got
diversity.
a friend.
Issue is skill spell diversity. That's forever more. That's a good point too.
He's hurting. He's hurting.
I mean, to be fair, if enemy diversity isn't really, I guess that to be fair, it's not really the issue. It's more of whether or not there's a good variety of challenges between the enemies. In some cases, New World was okay with
I
that.
feel bad for the
Just for like full what's the word for it?
They're
Fairness.
just in their little dens.
But
Wrong place, wrong time.
These dens smell nasty.
yeah, I definitely appreciate having more though. I think
Yeah,
Ash is
cool.
doing a pretty good job of that. Skill wise though, I'm actually
Well, I
quite
guess that's every pull.
impressed.
I was about to say.
Because I mean that was definitely an issue the New World definitely had, right? Is like each class or each weapon type, I guess,
Fighters
had
doing work,
6
though.
abilities.
Some
Big
work
pulls. Big pulls.
You would
are
only
what
really
fighters,
you could only spec into
all
3
about.
realistically. I mean, you could try to spec into more, but you wouldn't get to use them. And then you had another weapon that you could swap to.
Alright, doing a
But
sleep
for the most
again.
part, that was you were
And a
pretty much
focus
only
shot
using like
over
one
here.
weapon. There's a couple of combos that worked really well, but
I love getting that mana back.
it was more of like a situational thing, not like a combo thing, right? But 6 abilities is still way too little. And then they upgraded it with the first expansion to 7 with the weird other ability, which I
Nicely
don't remember
done.
exactly how that worked, but it wasn't really that good.
There's a goblin up there.
Ooh, it's getting dark for me.
Yeah, no,
Oh, we pulled a
Packs
bunch here. Pulled a bunch.
I think like World of Warcraft from about like Wrath of the Lich King
Later in the back.
to I would say Warlords of Draenor was still okay for it. It was definitely like the start of the decline, but I think like that level of skills was where I liked it. I think somewhere between like 15 and 30, but then you have like a like somewhere between like 3 and 5 bread and butters,
Back.
and then everything else is situational. I think that's a
Pretty cool
pretty
that works.
good spot to be.
Ooh, I found some of the cargo.
Personally, anyways.
Okay. Alright. Picked up a.
Little Dark Souls giving you the same
Get some
enemies
loot.
that suddenly have another attack in their rotation.
Alright,
I mean,
sticking
that's
that back
cool
up
too,
there.
because that keeps you on your toes. I'm okay with that. To be fair, though, let's be real. In Dark Souls, 90% of the time, it's just about bosses. You know, nobody really pays attention or gives a shit to the enemies, unless it's like
Next
with like mid-boss enemies.
AoE.
I mean, fuck. Once you get really good at Dark Souls, you run past half the enemies. You don't even
Oh, yeah,
fight
we
them
got a
anymore.
named guy.
They're not even worth your
That's one of
time.
the ones we need.
Elden Ring's even worse for that, actually.
Like,
Where is he?
He is right on top of our tank.
Oh, shove him back
Get
here.
into the next one. If it's a combo. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're gonna go really hardcore on like your amount of skills, a little bit of skill comboing like that is probably to be expected. In all fairness, because at the end of the day, you're designing a game for human beings to play, so you can't be too heavy-handed. I gotta keep in mind too. I was a big fan of Korean MMOs
real quick.
for the longest time, and Korean MMOs tend to be a little bit heavy-handed, so my brain's already kind of geared for it.
Nice.
And
Like
I found a toy soldier
BDO doesn't really
arm.
have a lot
We
of
have the
skills.
arm
There's a lot of
now and
different
the,
abilities
boots.
that you get, but they all flow together really well.
Halfway.
Kind of similar to what you were saying as protection. And then Arcade,
Every time.
early Arcade anyways, you had a lot of skills.
Got ads from the left.
And that they kind of drained it over time a little bit, just based on like how the skill points system works.
Careful to the left here. Try and pull him back.
Silver Knights and the Painter guys. Yeah. The Painter guys, when they decide that they want to parry you, all of a sudden. Something is tickling my nose. I'm getting afraid I'm gonna sneeze.
Yeah, we got Budge over here. Let's rest up.
Alright, let's make sure there's no ads over here to our right.
Jump, jump.
See where the wall kind of sticks out back there? I think we need to go that far.
Right, Wolf right here. He's patrolling.
Let's kill him.
We got ads.
Okay.
Oh no.
Let's just go to the wall. Go to the spot.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna sleep him as we pull. Alright, sleep dropping now. I think that LOS'd me.
A lot of wolves just past that, so if we end up having to move a little bit, don't go any further than this.
There he is, move off.
Yeah, drag him into the corner.
Alright, this
Oh, he's back.
player's down.
Yeah, I mean that. In a weird way,
Place of any tank.
I say weird way. I don't know. I don't know why I say it like that. In a way, that's kind of how like
Wait, that might pull cooldown. I'll bring
how
it back.
D&D kind of handles
Alright, it's just him now.
its lightning
Burn him.
spells.
I'm bringing it back to the
Um,
wall.
Nice.
Oh, is that like a little mini boss they're fighting? Man looks annoying with his shield. But yeah, ultimately having
That
more
shield is strong.
options in general, I think is always a really good thing.
Back, here we go. Wait for
I
it.
mean, that's why I mentioned
Wonder
earlier,
if
but that's why I
those,
like Death
rune
Knight
stacks are
so
reducing
much
your shields,
in
though.
WoW for so many years. I mean, it was a busted class for a lot of times, or depending on like which patch, but you know, for more
Oh,
often
there's
than
a
not.
trip. Can you maim him?
Maimed him.
Nice.
Fucker put his shield
Get
up.
him. Get him. Get that shield down.
What a clutch.
95.
Unbelievable, that
I know.
shield.
Almost like it's scripted to do that.
Almost.
Oh, sweet. He had a goblin.
But yeah, no,
skull.
they
Sweet.
you know, like I guess like a really easy example was like Icebound Fortitude and Anti-Magic Shell,
What were
where you would pop them depending on whether or not you were fighting someone who was very
Yeah,
physical heavy, or you were
so
fighting
I
someone who
think
was
in
very
here is gonna be
magic
the
heavy,
last
or
two
if you really wanted to be
goblins we're trying to
spicy,
find.
you pop anti-magic shell when someone puts like a field on the ground, and then you run into it purposefully because
Yeah, they are up
taking
this
magic
ramp.
damage during it
This way, I think.
would generate more runic power, which then you could just use to be even more offensive, you know, and things like that. Like it
There's
really,
both
the
left and right here.
situationalness of it was
I was trying to
really,
thread
really
the
fun.
needle and,
I think
pull both.
Sleeping
I didn't play a whole lot of classes in WoW, but the few that I did play were not nearly as situational. And they're like power scaling,
You just destroyed that 10.
and that's ultimately
Yeah.
why I just stuck Death Knight.
I'm telling you, if you destroy the home,
Like I tried Warrior. Warrior was
Mm-hmm.
fun, but Ranger was kind of poop. honestly, or ranger,
I'm on
hunter,
the shaman. Freezing in.
and so on and so forth. But like, yeah. Summoner classes. But I feel like most games spend too much time trying to make the summoner be a support.
Careful up here. This
with
is like
supports rather
super
than
danger area.
someone's
I'm gonna
full
pull
damage
some of these
tank.
back, I think.
Yeah, I actually
yeah.
another thing about Ashes that I think is going to be really cool is they're going to make it so that their summoner is everything. Summoner can be tank, summoner can be healer, summoner can be damage dealer, or they can be more supportive. Honestly, summoner in this game is more like World of Warcraft's druid in the way that it fills out archetypes, which I think is really neat. I mean, realistically, if you're summoning shit from beyond wherever, you could be summoning like an angel to do healing. You could be summoning a demon to do DPS. Summon a plant monster that like CCs enemies.
He's
You know,
right there on
like
the left. He's
going
pathing.
hard with
Just
that
gotta wait it out.
is really cool.
We wanna
Then
clear up
I
here.
just summoned the
There's a flare above
whatever,
us. Flare
or-
right
Clear
here.
to the right.
Yeah, okay, I'm being long-winded. But I agree with it.
Leave this one that's close to us, Chad.
Yeah, I'm waiting to round them up because they're all
Kinda, yeah.
The next
yeah, they're all coming. All right, sleep dropping now.
Drop that sleep. Oh,
shit.
my god.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
much use if that happens.
But no, I mean, like-
Clutch res.
They bumped my first one, second one coming.
There's a lot of class archetypes that I feel like get done dirty just simply due to the fact that they're hard. They're hard to balance.
I'm back up.
Out.
And then devs just decide not to bother trying at all because it's easier. But I don't know. I feel like,
Stable.
especially in an MMO development situation, you might as well put the time in. You're already stuck there waiting for assets, stuck there waiting for development. In other ways, you might as well be out here fucking getting the full range, right? And I think that's one of the things that hurt New World. It's one of the things that hurt a lot of recent MMO launches, honestly, where they just feel a little bit half-assed. I mean, Blue Protocol honestly looked like that quite a bit. I mean, their class array was really odd-looking. You know, as an example, like of just some recent ones. I haven't followed Throne of Liberty close enough to know if they had that issue. I think Lost Ark had that issue when it first released in Korea, if memory serves. I didn't follow that one too closely either, so I might be wrong. I'm willing to take that off. But you were not gross summons, yes. But it gets focused anyways. Oh no.
Good kill on the chamois.
Yeah, you know, PoE Summoner is pretty good. I was playing one for a little bit while I was loading up.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
gotta loot him.
Fuck, I forget what I was doing. I was doing something.
Did you loot slide?
Dude.
Trade with me. No, trade it to me.
Wasn't
No,
a summoner, but I
it's
ended
not
up
a
just.
tradable
I
item.
think I was using like Raging Skulls and something else while I leveled.
He'll be back soon.
And it almost made me want to do like full reroll just to go
Yeah.
fucking to be a summoner. Here, one sec. I'm gonna myself up.
I think his respawn isn't too bad.
It's actually pretty quick.
Is it?
Like-
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alright. Well, let's talk about how this.
Yeah,
fighter
I
has
was gonna go
performed.
Golemancer, but I don't think I ever
Exemplary
did.
performance by the fighter, if I don't say so myself. I mean, really, just unbelievable.
Top tier.
Actually, speaking of summoners, Hydra here is a huge fan of summoners in games.
I love how each of the areas.
Okay, sorry about that. My nose was actually bothering the shit out of me, and I was trying not to scratch it because I didn't want to look like I was picking my nose. But I had to deal with it.
Significant. Not to mention
It was going to be too
sound
bad.
ambience, everything. It's these goblins. I love their vocals.
Yeah, the little evil laugh like the big guys do right before they spin to win on you.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice like audio telegraph too. Alright, gonna freeze the flare. They're starting to respawn here.
Honestly, I know I say honestly a lot, but I'm kind of obviously performance issues aside. It's laggy. He's kind of choppy.
Is-
Yeah.
The main
Hoping
guy?
that gets fixed.
No, this back.
But I think like the pack-to-pack gameplay here is kind of what I want.
So what are some of the things, Trad, that you look for from the community, or Keenan or Brian, as it relates to kind of everything we talked about today, right? What are the things you want to hear people kind of opining on in, our different social media forums and whatnot, Discord?
I mean-
Incoming slags.
Oh well, yeah. Let's get him first, then we can chat about that.
Love so many classes.
I mean, this is actually an interesting one. Is like,
Yes,
just
sir.
these areas, like, the density.
Well, no,
the
I
respawn
kind of want
rates,
like BDO,
this is intended
but without
for a larger group.
the
but this is
extremely
kind of,
extended grind.
farming that you would want to see, or what are your?
But sometimes it's just fun to
preferred,
get in a group and just go
grinding
beat the shit out of mobs
experiences
for a while.
from MMOs you've played.
I mean, fuck, there's a reason why
Also,
I
just
stuck
like
through
how
BDO
you
for as long as I did.
feel the fighter plays from the melee perspective, like, what are fighters that you've really liked playing in games, and how did you enjoy them more, or what do you like that you're seeing here that you didn't see in fighters on other games, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one building on that debate. One thing I
Exactly,
really like
Rupture
is,
knows what's up.
criticism from our fans, like what's missing, what doesn't look so hot. We're all experienced developers. We could take the heat. It's fine. You're not gonna hurt our feelings. We just need to know what sucks.
All right, devs, you fucking suck at your jobs.
I think the critical feedback loop is very important.
I'm sorry, that was really mean.
One of the things that is super
Hey man, he told me I
important
could.
anytime you're offering
He
it
gave me
is
permission.
to be very specific in the things that don't mesh.
No,
well
I think
for
performance is the only thing that's really shitty right now.
And a lot of that stuff validates
Everything else
what
looks
we
pretty neat.
have, intentions for as we move forward in development. But that validation is important, right? Because it means that you as the player are thinking about the same things that we're thinking about. And we can prioritize that stuff. Obviously, combat being one of the biggest takeaways from Alpha 1, which you can see here, we took to heart and are iterating upon and continuing to develop with.
Personally, though, I'd like to see archetypes. Like, if you go Ranger
Another
Fighter,
thing would be,
I would like
this is
for the abilities to be
half-group,
more
like,
single target.
How did the visuals look?
I don't know to what extent they'll
really awesome in my
things will
opinion,
change.
Especially when we're showcasing them. How does that hold
But
up?
I would
with
like
the
to
mage
see them
effects in
do that.
parallel, and also the cleric and the tank, like a lot of that stuff.
Or rogue archetype
How does it look?
makes you a bit more.
When you're looking
You
at
have
it
a
from
bit more like single
a
target
very
capability.
controlled, isolated standpoint. How does that hold up or break down when you enter all those archetypes together into the mix?
I think if I were to provide
You
feedback,
ready for
I
the
just
final guy. Ooh,
Where is
Slags.
Did I get
Slags
the,
2.0.
sorry, did I loot the other
man, now my mustache is bothering me.
I
He's right
looted
here.
him again, so I spawned us a new one.
Can't get away from the itches, dude.
Oh my
Jesus.
god.
Whatever.
Where is the new one?
Right here.
Was that? Yeah.
Years of ninja looting experience, I
Oh
guess.
my
Gee.
god. This is the fighter showcase. not
Honestly,
the
I hope
rogue.
Ashes
Sorry.
recognizes the support role without just being like, oh, you're the support role. That means you're the healer.
This is him? Alright.
Yes.
You know, I
Keenan
like
just
they got
looted
Bard
Oh my God.
and they got Summoner that can easily
There we
fill
go.
those
Okay,
roles.
we have the
So I'm
flare
hoping
blade
we got a little bit
and
of like
toy
the
soldier
in between
torso.
support too.
Yay. We have the torso now. Keenan has two
The Trinity's
torsos, I have a
cool,
single torso.
but it's outdated. We can expand
I
upon it.
agree.
Oh my god.
Alright,
Okay.
when you guys are ready, I'm gonna charge.
What do I do here?
You want me to do a
Which
sleep bowl?
Well, they're incoming.
Alright,
Body
I'm
pull.
sleeping now, so we'll see which one I get. There are two shots.
To be fair, the Trinity was never ever really
focus
the
on them.
Trinity. We only just pretended like it was. Even in WoW, you needed range DPS differential to, or being differentiated from the melee DPS in some
Look here
fights.
on the
So.
platform.
Or, fuck, even really far back, like Burning Crusade, there was things like mage tanks. Which I guess is like kind of the same thing as a tank, but you get my point. It's just a different role. You wouldn't call it the same thing.
Come on, Zags. What you want, buddy? Let's go.
Oh, he's tripped.
It's honestly kind of played like an open world dungeon, funny enough.
with
Like
the
they kind of, this is like the third
looking
boss they've
as cool
fought.
and
They've kind of
spectacular
climbed
as he
up
does,
to the
it's a
top
good
to fight him.
opportunity to talk about how
Pretty solid gameplay loop for in terms of PvE. I mean, it's
like,
basic, but like
visually interesting each ability should be, and whether people think it's too much or too little.
whether
Whether
there
they
is a
feel like
scale.
it's about right for the
Holds your
gameplay
life in their
experience that
hands,
they
but you
enjoy.
insult them, then you have to pay. Yeah, true.
Visuals. The visual effects for these abilities are in a playable state. We want to get your guys' feedback on that. You know.
Definitely want a lot of feedback around what people want out of group grinding areas. I know we're developing a lot of those right now, and that would make sure that we're giving everyone what they want, or at least taking it into consideration with what we're building.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, I
things
don't know if
like
they'll see this
respawn
live stream, but
rate,
I'll probably try to
density.
provide feedback where I can. But
Do we want to complete the quest here? You should
I,
have all the pieces. All right, so in your inventory, you should have all 4 if you looted Zags.
Yes.
Put it together. Let's see what happens.
I gotta say, I 1000% think.
Oh, reassemble the doll! The goblins must have broken up the toy soldier. If I have all 4 parts, I can try reassembling it.
Looks like there's
They
something
snapped
over
together.
here.
I have a reanimated toy soldier. That sounds like a Chucky doll or something.
Creepy.
We just
Let's get rid of it.
introduced- Yeah, I was about to say.
We're gonna get respawned. Better turn it in.
Where are we
Yeah.
going? Where are we going?
Yeah, I know. I like the
Tombstone
group
from
grinding
the same
areas.
guy.
It's good.
The forlorn heroes
Making areas that are
memorial.
specifically designated for it are super nice. BDO runs into this issue where like
Memorial for all the heroes
every
who
zone
died
is
here,
technically a
who
solo
always be
zone
remembered here.
at a point, and it doesn't really make sense to be
Place the
group
action
grinding
figure
it
by the memorial. I can feel a grateful presence in the air.
after a point. But
Suddenly noticed
it'd be nice if the game
This was a graceful.
kept
graceful.
that in line,
The
Suddenly
goblins
noticed
don't
this
seem
small-
to
at least
this
within
small
level
parcel
brackets, obviously.
near the memorial that I didn't see before. He gave me a glowing glint and some dim glint, and he had leftover currency from the ancient times.
And hopefully a lot of XP, right?
Yes, a significant number of experience. Deliver the toy. We have succeeded. Yay! Look at that. It happened. We did it. Amazing! Holy smokes! Well, that was fun! I enjoyed that, and the area obviously looks beautiful. The class plays remarkably well. Feels very good. Keenan, Brian, Trad, and all the goblins around us that are
Very
incredibly
loud.
vocal.
Very low.
Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this. I know the community did. Everyone out there in the community, as you guys have seen, the fighter class is getting very close to ready for Alpha 2, along with all the
I
other
want to see
archetypes that
Rogue.
you've
That's what I
seen.
want to see.
Give us
I
your
always like to
commentary,
try and
give
play
us
the
your
Rogue.
feedback. Talk on the YouTube channel, in the Discord, on our forums.
It's very rare that I like
What did you
the Rogue,
enjoy
but I do
about
always
the
try to play
presentation?
the Rogue.
Today. Oh my gosh. These guys are just completely. Maybe we can just nuke them.
Persistent.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe just nuke them as they
It's
go.
very goblin of
We're
them.
almost dead.
We'll nuke any future goblins.
Yes, future goblins. But everyone out there, talk to us about what you enjoyed today in the presentation. We obviously enjoy sharing these updates with you. Obviously, Ashes of Creation is still a work in progress. We're continuing to develop towards Alpha 2. We are hard at work doing so. But the combat team loves your guys' feedback, so please give it. And Keenan, Trad, Brian, thank you very much for joining us today and showing off all the hard work that your guys' teams have been working on.
Yep.
Yep, thanks for having us. It's been an adventure.
Yes,
Yeah,
It's
my
elite.
pleasure.
an adventure. All right, guys, we will see you back on stream.
And we are back. I'm going to play the video in the background whilst we talk. We're going to grab some questions from chat throughout the. We've been watching you.
All right,
Wagner and
we'll
Motion,
watch
our
some of
wonderful
this,
Community managers
see where
have
it
been-
goes.
We have like a
That's
party
like the
that's
bulk of
happening
the
on
live stream right there,
Discord,
though.
and we've got a Twitch chat, so we've definitely been keeping an eye out for your guys' questions. and trying to snag all of the details. So first and foremost, I think,
Summons
Stephen, you wanted to
zombies.
kind of address performance. And I know that's something that
Yeah.
we're working on drastically, even with our PI users. We've been getting all the PC specs and
Yeah.
stuff like that and working towards that.
Yeah, and the initial performance work that's being done right now
Can't wait for all the
is mainly on the network side, but what you guys are noticing on the FPS and the client side rendering, that is stuff that we are going to be working on over the next few months, and you should see some very significant lift in those areas.
I'm waiting for all
Sometimes
the
it can
reaction
get a little bit
videos to this
unruly
to
while
just
we're in
be, oh my
active
god, it
development. Certain
lagged.
assets can get
I'm
certain
waiting for it,
places that
man.
might need to be
I'm
adjusted. You might
waiting
be
for
getting
it.
draw calls from across the map. You might have
To be
some
fair, it should
cloth
be called out.
simulation that's just
Obviously,
a
they're
little
calling it
heavy
out
on
right here
some
too,
hair.
right? But
Like there's a few
should not be
things
developed.
obviously
It's
that
early,
are kind of
early
low-hanging
stuff. I ain't
fruit.
worried about it.
That our
Make a
performance teams will
marketplace.
focus
Yeah,
on.
really.
You'll see
That
that
would be
get better,
nice.
obviously, as we get closer to Alpha 2. So it is on the top of our minds. We do
Hey, for no other
definitely,
reason than just to manage
address
shit
that.
you've already
We've
put in.
recently released also some of our min spec and recommended specs for
At
Alpha
least
2.
that,
You can
right?
take a look
Yeah.
at that on the website.
Yeah, you go to
So,
our
yeah.
support section and look at our KB articles, or our knowledge base articles. Sorry, I call it KBA, but our knowledge base articles, and just type in specs, and it should be there for you. So we have all that information already there. And keep in mind that is just for Alpha 2. We will be changing that as we move forward in Beta 1 and Beta 2, and then launch. We're obviously going to keep optimizing.
Really hope
to give
Alpha 2
perspective,
marks
most
like
games
a
are
point
not
where
worrying about performance and
development
optimization this
speeds
early
up a
on.
bit.
Usually you're just developing like crazy, and then you do
Right.
the performance stuff
I mean,
later
feedback
towards
can
when you're
either
ready to
slow
open
down
for
or
beta,
speed up depending.
or the
So
alphas these days, which are basically like beta ones.
Right,
So just
I'd
kind of keeping
obviously
that in mind,
really
because we're an open
prefer
development. It's a little
the
bit
launch
different for us,
sooner rather than later,
in development process.
assuming
Next
that they
question
can
we
make the
have
game
here
to the
has to
highest
more fighter based.
quality
The
standard.
next question
Right?
here
Like,
is:
obviously, I don't
battle
want a
cry
worse shit
sound
game,
effect change
but
based on your base and
Yes.
sex?
Yeah,
I guess
and
the
that's not
ASAP
just obviously
idea.
for Battle Cry, but any type of
But I guess where I'm going
incantation
is like I think
is generally
2026
going to adhere to a
would be a
certain
solid
style of
launch year.
vocal that's respective of the character customization
Early
options that you've
2026
selected.
maybe.
Yeah, and you'll hear those audio voices in other things that we do in the future.
But that's
Are any
probably
of these abilities changed based on weapon choice? So, example, if I
copium?
have a bow
Copium?
equipped, will
Very
whirlwind be different based on that?
No, so in
unrealistic.
one thing that we've
I don't know.
changed, which since Alpha 1, is we now have a dedicated ranged slot and a dedicated main hand offhand for melee slots. And so if you use an ability that is utilizing your ranged slot, you will spawn that weapon as you're using the ability, and then go back to your basic weapon selection toggle, and you can toggle back and forth between using the ranged weapon slot or the melee weapon slot.
So like
for your basic
ranger
attacks.
might have some bow abilities.
And then the next one here is: what percentage of currently complete fighter abilities don't require a target?
Or vice versa, ranger fighter.
Something that folks noticed is that you were in action combat a few times throughout this as well. So I don't know how you want to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to play a little bit of action there. I saw some of the commentary about my my playing. I just want to say that
I told him in advance there was going to be comments.
That's totally fine. Like, hey, I want you as the viewer to look and say, man, I could play way better than you, right? And then get in here and show it in Alpha 2. No, I'm just kidding.
There was a couple times where I'm like, Steven, you were wandering around over here and the boss was there.
Somebody on Discord today said that I'm a boomer. And I said, technically, I'm a millennial, but I play like a boomer, so I guess I'm a millennial.
And they were like, just stop.
Fucking goddamn
I
it.
saw that in the Discord.
That's so good. Okay, what was the actual question? Oh, what percentage are templated attacks versus requiring a target?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say off the top of my head, I think there's probably 4 or 5 abilities right now that require a single target, and then I think the rest are either like on self or some template conal attack or something.
Yeah, fighter's very AoE heavy. Will there be a limit to the stacks on bosses?
It hits a pretty good balance.
There's a lot of debuffs and what do we call it, status effects and things like that that were being stacked onto things, and they were curious if there's limits.
I mean,
to
in terms of
certain
action
stacks.
combat,
And also,
I would still like to see a more
for
single target
instance,
version of
an
fighter.
example would be,
Maybe
can I
Rogue will be
one-shot a
that. Maybe
boss
that'll
by
be their shtick,
stacking wounded
and that's
for
how they'll
an hour?
differentiate the melee fighters. But
Yeah, that's absolutely. There's diminishing returns.
I
There
mean,
are max
Rogue
stack
will be very
counts.
single target.
You
You
know,
get my point.
those are types of things that kind of depend on the target we're talking about. Bosses are obviously going to have the higher end of resistances and you know,
Immunity.
diminishing returns and immunities. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So the intent is not to provide an infinite stack count. Absolutely.
And to follow up on that, just because I know there might be some subsidiary questions of that, which is, would those stacks be per or per person, or per archetype, or per the type of status effect?
Those would be predicated on the status effect type. So
Wait, just like White Hydra?
So if you put
Which
burning
part?
on it, it would be everybody in the raid has to adhere to that limit.
That's correct. Yep.
For context, okay. And then
and just to be
go
clear,
ahead.
like that is absolutely something that we're going to be testing. We've on the design team, we've had
I'm
a
not sure if I
number of
missed chat.
discussions with regards to how to surface kind of individual stack application versus, like, you know, group and raid combat requirements there. There's a few different options that are available, obviously, to us. We've decided on a certain direction for the purposes of Alpha 2, but I believe we've actually prototyped a few of the different options just to get a feeling for how that is currently in our combat testing. Um, so yeah, just stay tuned for that. Obviously, Alpha 2 is going to have testing with that.
And you guys will be either experiencing it or watching it in Alpha 2, and so definitely share with us your thoughts. We'll be making changes and balancing things as we move forward.
Well, keep in
how
mind,
augments work
the game's
to
not going to
help a
have
fighter hold aggro if their secondary archetype is a tank. And I know that
nearly as
that's,
many
like,
as Guild Wars 2
going
did, because
deep
Guild Wars 2
into
tried
the
to make
secondary
damage over time its
archetypes.
own archetype in general.
Folks are curious
That's
about
not going to be the
I
case in
mean, just to
Ashes.
give a general response there without getting into too much of the specifics,
That
because
said,
obviously
though,
augments are
they
something
did say that
we
they're
are
going to
still
keep an
kind
eye
of
on it and
understanding
change it
in
as
our
needed. So
in our
by launch, it may not be like that anymore.
development
We'll see.
You know, inspection there. The idea is that, you know, obviously threat generation is a core component of the tank archetype. So as a fighter, if you're selecting the tank as your secondary archetype, you're going to have certain spheres of augments that you can apply to your abilities
Yeah, I suppose thinking
to
of it
help
from a Guild Wars 2
maintain threat,
perspective, it is probably
to
wildly
potentially
different.
even
Or not wildly
momentarily
different,
take
but like
aggro from a
different
particular
philosophy
target
type
in
deal.
order to better service that role of the tank in
No, Guild Wars 2
combat.
does do dots pretty good.
Now, what that will
Honestly, yeah,
specifically
I agree
equate
with that.
to, you know, I don't have an answer for you now. That's something that we'll be testing in the future. But, you know that the goal
WoW had an
with
okay time
providing
from
those
depending on the patch,
selections
but
to the fighter will be
well,
to service a
since I last
secondary
played, anyways,
threat
I have
generation,
not played in a
you
while,
know,
a very long time.
effect.
But
Yeah.
And then the next one is momentum being generated while under the effects of exert?
yes,
Say that. I'm sorry. I
yes,
was getting
yes, it was.
distracted. Everybody in chat saying stare. Why are they
I
saying
know.
stare?
I don't know. Maybe someone rated us or something like that. Is momentum being generated while under the effects of exert?
Is momentum being generated while under the? Yes, absolutely. That's part of the mechanic that is currently incorporated into exert, is that you can activate exert while max momentum, and then depending on the effectiveness of you utilizing your skills and damaging targets,
I think
you
this
can
is good.
continue to keep that momentum up while under the effects of exert to extend its lifetime beyond what the 6 seconds initially are.
We
No, I like that
appreciate the
because
raid.
basically means that
Always
it's a
do for
variable
everybody. We
duration,
just are also trying to be conscious
and
of
you
those
can
times
kite them
that
out of it.
we don't always
They pop exert,
mention
you
them.
kite them.
The next one is, will ranged archetypes have ways
It's
of
good.
gaining distance
It's good.
to compensate for fighter distance closers? Would you keep doing this until both players have cooldowns for their mobility? And I just want to say, we haven't balanced everything yet, so there will definitely
Right.
be adjustments.
So the question is, are there gap creators in addition to the gap closers that we see on the fighter, or
It's
Oh.
ranged archetype specifically.
That's what
like
Martha was asking
your
about earlier.
mage, your ranger,
Well, we
your
see.
more ranged
Will
folks.
they have? Yeah.
Will they
I
have
mean,
ways to gain distance to compensate for how well the fighter can gap close?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's the cat and mouse of these abilities, right? Like we've seen with the ranger, they have a backflip. They have um, their airdrop ability. The mage has teleportation. Um, you know, there are going to be abilities that are tit for tat, right? And
He's trying not
managing
to give anything away for
the
the classes they haven't
resource of
shown.
those abilities and the
I can
timing
hear
of
it in
when
his
you use
voice.
them to either
Motherfucker.
correlate to your opponent's
I just
use of
want
those
a little
things,
taste of the rogue. Come on.
or to save them for yourself when you want to get away. Like that's part of what makes the engagements dynamic and different each time.
Yeah, and if you go back and you watch like our mage archetype preview or our ranger specific archetype preview, you will see that they also have some abilities to slow, snare, keep their targets in place, and also
Mage
to
has
get
a lot of
themselves
snare,
more mobile,
especially on their
the
ice
ranger has
abilities.
a lot of mobility
So.
as well. So, and there will be balance.
Fair.
We're not in the balancing state.
Although that isn't going to
obviously
stop
right
you
now,
from fucking
every
charging.
class we show, they're like SOP, but right now we're trying to find the fun.
Unless
so
distance
the
can
fun is a
be
little
altered
OP,
based
but the
on
balance will
Yes.
come
status
into play.
effects.
And of course,
Absolutely.
you'll see these abilities move around.
That would
too.
be a
Some
good
of them
idea.
might move into secondary
Pull a League of
archetypes
Legends.
or augments and things like that. So just keep that in mind. The next question is:
Although I don't think League does that
do
anymore. It used to.
destructibles respawn?
I could be
Because
wrong
one
on
of
that.
the things that
do,
you had said
yes.
in there was
Like,
maybe they
Shen's
won't come back
dash
home, and
used to
that's
be
one
based
of
on
the-
his
I
movement
wish
speed.
that was the case, but yeah.
No, I was just being a little role play.
I don't know if it still is.
Yes, destructibles. So, obviously not a lot of MMOs that we have all probably played are intending to provide a heavily destructible environments. These set pieces like
I want to see destructible
the
walls and
different props
dungeons
you
for
saw
like
in this
secret areas and
demonstration,
loot.
the huts, the totem poles and stuff. Those are unique to the Goblin tribe, the Mukma tribe, and part of our dynamic world is that as population tables change, so too do the corresponding prop sets that are utilized within the area to better reflect that dynamic change of the world.
There's going to be a lot of ground
And
clipping.
from a level design
I'm calling
perspective,
it
when you're
now.
curating these spaces for players to engage in combat, either in PvE or in PvP, there is an element of strategy that gets introduced when that environment has destructibility.
Me and the boys
as
hiding
well.
in the
So you
goblin
can
tents,
clear
waiting for
those
the
spaces,
unsuspecting
make
trade
mobility
caravan to
a
come
bit
by. Not
better
entirely certain that
serviceable for
matters
you,
too much,
or
but
vice versa. You could utilize
fair.
line of sight and interruption to kind of create interesting engagements. So
It
those could be
could.
destroyed,
Depends.
and then they do respawn
What we
after a
saw in
period
this
of time.
live
I
stream
believe
definitely
currently that
wouldn't.
period of time is set to like 10 minutes for the respawns of those.
But I'm at least glad that that's what they're thinking
yeah.
about with it. So things
And
could get
the
pretty
community just
interesting.
got a bingo. They had the cat on the bingo card. I didn't make it happen. She came over here. Can we? Yeah, for those of you who are new to our community, if you head on over to our Discord, our community always does they make up a little bingo card. It's cute. Can we toggle nameplates for mobs, especially to show them outside of combat? So one of the things they noticed when you were playing is that when you were roaming in the world, you didn't really see nameplates until you had them targeted.
Yeah, that was a setting that I had enabled. Just because. Oh, so first of all, to
Steven
answer that
likes
question,
the immersion, you guys.
right? I know. I'm sorry. I'm not. I do like the immersion. It helps fulfill the fantasy of the world, but I also like to see nameplates from time to time. Anyways, it is entirely customizable currently. That customization
Yeah,
option
I'm
is
really big on
already
having
in-game.
nameplates as big and
You can
readable as
set
possible.
nameplates to
I know
always
some people
appear.
fucking hate
You
it,
can set it to only
but
appear on
I'm an
targets. You can set it to
information
only appear
screen
on
reader
targets that
guy.
have taken damage. You can set it to only appear on targets that are
I
aggro.
like to know what dangers lie around
You
me
can
at
set it for
all
your
fucking
allies,
times.
for yourself, for whatever. There's a lot of highly customizable options that are currently in the game.
All right, and we're gonna
That's good. I like that.
Color options too for certain things for colorblind folks too. I think it was one of the things that we've worked towards. So We're
I mean,
gonna try to give you guys all
customization in all
customization.
areas
Even
is
your
always
outfit
just
too,
a.
you'll be able to like move and adjust your
We live in
UI
a time
around.
where it's kind
So
of inexcusable
yeah,
to not have it.
keep that in mind.
It's
The next question
pretty fucking
is: Are
simple.
mob sounds like the Goblin stock placeholder or Intrepid made audio? We got a lot of comments about
Yeah.
people really digging the audio. So good job, audio team. I know you guys work hard.
Yes, specifically that was Andrew, one of our audio designers. He recorded those goblin sounds and implemented them into the game. Yeah, those are not stock. Those are our audio designer
I'm gonna reach out
Andrew's
to Steven later.
his nightly
Listen,
routine
man,
before he goes
if
to
you need
bed. He does those
sounds, if you need
incantations.
voice acting, I got you.
Screams into the ether. Ah.
Exactly. No, he did a great job on those. They were really good. I
I'm not
mean,
gonna do a
obviously, and that's
goblin
unique,
voice right
right?
now,
To
but
obviously certain faction types, the ones that can have language. Having those kind of spell incantations, I think, add a lot of character. And he did a great job with those.
Yeah. And then, of course, does the fighter have any specific weapon dependent abilities? So, something that we are allowing people to do in Ashes of Creation is you can use any weapons and armor, but obviously there will be some that will be better for certain specs. So I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
Weapon dependent.
Like you have to use a specific weapon for
Yeah,
a
I don't
specific
think
ability.
I don't think the fighter. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe the fighter
probably
has a
melee weapon or
dependent
ranged weapon
ability.
or magic weapon
Other
dependent.
than like
That's how I
using
figure they're
ranged
gonna do
weapons
it.
with melee specific abilities, right?
That said, I don't not
Right.
I don't don't remember if they've
And
ever
even in those
mentioned.
situations, I still think you can use the melee abilities. You just won't have a weapon equipped when you do them.
Oh,
Just like punching or something.
Right.
okay.
They'll just
Actually,
sort
no,
that out.
I'm okay with that.
But of course, those are kind
I
of
mean, you're not
we'll
gonna
be here
want
all
to do
day
that,
if
I'm
we
sure, but that's cool.
ask and answer all of the questions. So definitely, whenever we put up our next Q&A for next month, make sure you put your questions in there if you have follow-up questions for us. But we also have a thread up on our forums. You can go check it out right now. It is regarding our
I'll do it
fighter
later,
archetype review.
Margaret,
So if
but
you do
thank
have
you.
feedback for us regarding the archetype, definitely go give us as much as you want over there. And it doesn't have to just be about the fighter. I think Keenan brought up some great questions in the gameplay section, which was also, or might have not only been Keenan, but about like group play and the density in which we had mobs around there and all of that kind of stuff. So anything that you saw in this preview, please feel free to share feedback with us.
I feel bad that most of
our
my feedback
wonderful
should be like,
team
this is
managers
great.
will be
I just tweak it
going
like
through
this.
everything. They read every single comment you guys make, even our social media.
Like, I don't feel like it's gonna be all that
goes through
constructive.
that and also provides anything that's additional. So we give them as much as we possibly can on that front in regards to what y'all are thinking and how you're feeling about things.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
they
start
don't have to read all
using
of
the
it. They
forums
can
more
focus on
too.
making the game.
I've been trying to.
And with that, we'll
I'm
move
just kinda
over to
antisocial,
By the way,
honestly.
just to be clear, I want to give another shout out.
Yeah, go
Tori
for it.
also worked on the Goblin vocals as well. So it was Tori and Andrew. They split those up a bit. So those of you who are loving those sounds, big props to Tori and Andrew on that. It definitely immersed me when I was playing.
Let's get
through.
some claps in chat, some hearts. We
Woo.
appreciate it. Next up, let's talk a little bit about studio stuff. We have a lot of roles that are up for
I think Steven teased that they were hiring on a lot of
Yes,
refugees
the
from
industry
the
is crazy right now.
the
you went to
recent
GDC.
massive
Talk a little
layoffs.
bit maybe about that as well.
Yeah,
That's
I
a pretty
did.
exciting
I did go
thing.
to GDC.
Yeah.
I went to GDC. I tried to fit all of my meetings into just 2 days so that I could get back to the studio as quickly as possible. So I was there for Tuesday and Wednesday. I did announce while I was there on Twitter that I would sit down in that St. Regis lobby from like 9 to 10 on Tuesday and 4 to 5 on Wednesday. And boy, did we have a turnout of people. That was a lot of fun to chat with everybody and where they are in their careers and their passion for Ashes and MMOs in general. I had a great time chatting with a lot of different people. Went on to the expo floor Wednesday in the afternoon for about an hour and got to meet just a lot of people who came up and were aware of Ashes, and that helped recharge my motivation batteries, which was great.
It's good.
We are hiring. We have some lofty hiring goals over the next 60 days. And you guys in the community who are watching and help, spread the word for Ashes and the company, you already have done an amazing job. I told you the story about some interviews I had where their gamer friends, after they had been laid off,
Spam
said,
tagging
"Now's your
them.
Oh, he's
chance.
talking about what I
Get
was just
over
talking
to
about. Okay.
Ashes," right?
Yeah.
I would call upon you once again to help spread the word.
Well,
We have
hey,
got, I
how's that?
think,
You're looking for a
like
job. I don't
8
know if you're
or
still here.
9 design positions that are open currently. We have a number of production positions. We have a number of engineering positions. And Intrepid is a stellar place to work, and the project is a very fulfilling and exciting one. So as you are aware of people in this industry that you look up to or that you admire, or um, whatever it may be, send them our way,
And
because
some of those roles
we
on
are.
there, we're hiring for multiple people of those roles. So if you're
That's
like,
right.
you're like, but I only see 3 there, it's because we're hiring like 4 of that one role or whatever it might be. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it is. We need a lot of people to make this project. It is a lofty one.
Yes.
I think that's all I had. Things that I wanted to make sure that we mention. Is there anything else that you can think of, Stephen?
No, I think the only other thing that I would love to touch on is, the team is very heads down right now, working towards getting what we want to get ready for Alpha 2 ready.
I know some people were mentioning that
And I would say that, we have a
Alpha
wonderfully
2.
beautiful, glorious community, who have stood with us many steps
Not
of the way
people
on
aren't
this
sketched out. I'm
journey.
trying to think of the word. They're
And
worried,
it
I
is a
guess,
journey
weary
that's not for
that we haven't
everyone.
really
Watching a
seen
game that's in development, constantly being
the
teased
full
every
extent
month
of
about
what we're
the
gonna get
product
in
you
Alpha 2,
want
or
to
what we're
play
supposed to be
but
getting in
can't
Alpha 2.
touch yet, right?
Um,
Yeah.
that takes
yet,
a
and
takes a
there's not
different
much
level
time
of
left, truth
patience,
be
right?
told.
That
Only
not
what, like
all of us are probably
somewhere between like
accustomed
what, like
to.
6 and 5 or 6 more
And
streams.
sometimes that patience can wear thin, and that's
So,
fair. But what I can tell you is that
I mean, I don't really give a shit.
that patience
They
is
could
going
drop
to
Alpha 2
yield
tomorrow with what they got,
something,
and
I
I'd still
think,
play it and be
distinct in
content
our
with it. But
genre.
um,
What we're creating with this game, and it's been a long road. If I would quote Star Trek Enterprise and their intro song, "Getting from there to here." I'm sorry. But anyways,
if you will, I
it's
am
been
down
a long
bad for
road,
this MMO.
and there's still a long road ahead of us. But
But
when I go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning and spend my, waking hours, everything Ashes related, what I think about is that execution. And I think about what it would mean on a launch day of either Alpha 2 or a launch for the game, where we didn't do what we needed to do in order to make the game good enough. And I'm not a perfectionist, right? I don't believe in waiting until a product is perfect, but I do believe in waiting until the product is good enough. And that is always my Northern Star. That's my guiding light when I think about the decisions that need to be made, regarding production, regarding marketing, regarding,
honestly, that's good to
development
hear.
and design decisions. Like, that is my
I mean, I
guiding
think he's
light,
expressed
always
this in
from
the
the
past,
player's
but still.
perspective. So I just want to impress upon you all in the audience is that, when we hear our friends, our fellow MMO gamers talk about, wanting to either see something now, or, hear something now, or,
Give me
whatever
Rogue,
that might
Steven.
be, take it with the understanding that you can help communicate to them. Intrepid is trying to do things differently. And that's okay. That is a good thing. That is what this genre needs, is, in my opinion, this level of engagement, this level of transparency, I think is a very important one. And it's been nice to kind of help pioneer that a bit for the genre. And I'm happy to see other projects take that
Jokes aside,
on.
It's not an easy one to do.
I do agree with it. I
had a
agree
couple
with
of
this.
discussions at GDC.
Yeah, it's
with some
so
other
other
project
developers
directors
thinking about
Yeah.
doing this. It is not an
Absolutely.
easy
And
feat. You know,
It is not, because at the end of the
Well, no,
day,
because
like,
every little mistake
this
is going to get bitched
takes
and
a
moaned
level
on,
of
even if
investment
it's working a work in
and a bit of
progress.
an
If you're
atypical
willing to
approach to
change it in the
development
future,
that
um,
allows us to
depends on
stand
how
up
stubborn
this
you are as a
kind of
development studio too. It's
development update
not just the
process
fans
every
being assholes,
month,
but the
right?
devs can be assholes too.
And that
So
investment is
you need to
significant,
be open
but
minded,
the reward
and you need to
is
be able
that
to
we get a
take
community along the way who is
stupid
also
people's
invested in ensuring
misguided,
that the product
like,
outcome is
bad
what the
criticism,
community wants.
right?
And I think that cost is worth it, obviously. But what I want to say is that when you come across, fellow MMO gamers who are
Steven's
impatient
a long
or
time
who,
MMO guy, though. I think he's
might
got thick
not
enough
say the
skin.
nicest
I
things
think
about
he's
the product,
good.
that's okay. It is okay, right? Let them come back and take a look when we do
They'll
get
be
to Alpha
back.
2, or when we exactly correct. So don't jump down the throats. Just be prepared, open arms, smiling faces, and as we continue to stay on the road towards development, um, if you build it, they will come. That is a lifelong message I take
Yes,
home.
I'll
If
say
you've
it.
followed us over the years,
I'll
you've
say
seen
it.
our progress. Like, we continue
Forever
to make
MMO people
progress. That is one of
are going to be the
beautiful
ones, the
things
front and
about
center, right?
having
They're
open
gonna be
development.
like,
The
Ashes
hardest thing is
Creation,
keeping that
scam.
trust
Ashes
and
Creation,
building it, right?
never coming out. They're
We
gonna say the same
understand
thing
that
about
we're gonna
fucking
make
every
mistakes.
MMO
Everyone
that
does,
gets
right?
announced,
But it's
right?
how we communicate those and how
As long as it's been
share
development
that
for like
information
4 or
with you
5 years.
guys. So, we appreciate
But
you.
those
Thank you
motherfuckers are still
so
going to be the
much
ones
for
front
being
in
here with
line
us and
with the
motivating
fucking
and
collector's edition in
inspiring,
hand,
providing us feedback.
ready to play it day one, ready to play it day
Does take time to
negative fucking
fix and
7.
iterate on. So
You know what I
that's
mean?
another
Like,
thing too. So just keep those things in mind. And normally,
this is something I think
folks are
people need to know.
developing MMOs
Developers
for
of
10, 15,
MMOs
20
need to know this.
years in
They are only
development,
bitching
so
and
they don't
moaning
have
because they're
that
very pessimistic
continual
doomers.
feedback. And you're not sitting there
And you know what?
waiting for
Sometimes
10, 20
it's correct.
years,
Like we talked about this
alongside
the last
developers.
2 days ago
And
with
early on in
Chronicles of Valeria.
development, you have a lot less staff. 'Cause
People
you're
were
not,
right.
doing the
Doesn't mean they're
nitty-gritty,
always
but
going to
as
be
you
right.
get further along, you're staffing up, you're working towards bigger pieces, and that's when things start moving fast. So just thank you for your patience and continued patience and patience with other people who maybe don't have it.
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll move over to our wonderful art update. We have, you guys got to see the Renkai in game too, which is cool. We've shown the models before. But we did show the heavy armor in game, and last time we showed you the medium armor for Carfin, and this is the light armor this is the medium. So these are all the Carfin
I don't
armor
like the
that
chest
you've
plate.
been seeing and the weapons and stuff like that. Those are all attainable in-game things.
Something about that
Carfin,
looks weird to me. The rest of it looks really cool though.
Looks great.
Yeah.
I'm not really a
Love
fan
it.
of that mask, but like
Steven didn't want to put
it does look cool. I wouldn't put it
I
on my
know, I was
character,
really
but I
enjoying
wouldn't
the
be
orc.
I wouldn't think it would look stupid on like
Roja.
someone else running around with it. You know what I mean?
Just hide your helm, homie.
I know.
Okay.
And then the
All right,
next one
Margaret.
here
Okay,
is
you can't just call me out like that.
which looks amazing.
The timing on that was pretty good, actually.
That
Fuck.
does look really good. Who worked on this?
Oh, I didn't put the names on the. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
It was a
I
bit
think
of
this.
a
I think this
crazy
might have
week.
been. I think this might have been Eli. Did Eli work on this?
Yeah, I mean,
I normally
Eli,
do.
probably,
I don't
or
think it fits
maybe,
my
I'm not
aesthetic
sure.
quite that well, but it does look
And
pretty
then
good.
Nikuan, we
Ooh,
are now
here's the
sharing with
dwarves.
you. This is the starting gear for the Nikuan.
Oh yeah, the Nikuan.
I actually think they look really neat. They look very unique.
Yeah, you've
You
seen
do not see dwarves like this ever.
The concept of the models. This is
Well,
like
I've never seen dwarves like this ever, I should say. I suppose.
Their starting gear, and you've been starting to see some of the starting gear from all the other races, so we've been sharing them as we're moving along. And then we've got some cool VFX.
Very Polynesian in design.
Some of these you might have seen in game, or you will soon. We always go through different iterations of them.
No, those are those I believe are effects for the God Spike and the
the Tauren God
fissure.
Spike. Yeah, and I actually have the Tauren Spike. I was gonna save it for last, but I realized I should have put the VFX with that after. So
this
we'll
looks
share
neat.
that next here.
Okay.
These are some of the concepts for them. Obviously, this is not the end model, but do you want to talk a little bit about what the Torn God's Spike is for, or just leave them?
Sure.
I think you tease people. They're like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah, no, I talked a little. This is something you're going to be seeing
We
next
talked about
month.
it in our Discord.
Yeah, we
Oh, is he
talked
teasing
about,
what's next
the
month
Torn
already?
Empire was an ancient empire on Vera before the Aelins and the Aelins and the Pyrrhian empires got stood up. There was an empire of half elves that their demise came under the rule of King Atrax, and the God Spike was a particular interesting artifact that could help to initiate essentially this
All my homies
essence
hate
fission
A-Tracks.
that would spawn in certain areas, and would be able to kind of sap into and siphon out the essence that laid within Vera. So not to get in too much detail, but it is an interesting ancient artifact that can be used as part of certain war declarations that we may get some insight to in the coming month. That was run by cat.
Yeah, they both just ran in the room. That's why I was like, oh my gosh.
Cats being cats.
Yeah, you're gonna get to see that next month. So get some. I want to hear some theories of what you guys think next month's topic is gonna be. And the next thing that we have here is some little spiderlings. That
I want to see another dungeon showcase
with a big spider
that also doubles as a rogue showcase,
apologies
honestly.
for anybody who doesn't like spooters. I won't keep them up on screen too long. I know we've got a lot of people out there who are like,
The little ones look kind of cute, honestly.
it's okay. You could.
I don't normally like spiders designs. They usually creep me out.
Pieces. We have
Little ones actually look kind of cute.
That's being done towards academy nodes, highways, Aelin ruins, and the Kalar walls.
I really like that
Those
elevated pathway wall like thing they got going on there.
And of
That
course,
looks really fucking
you guys
cool.
have seen a lot. I know the
Getting some Elden Ring vibes from it, honestly.
You guys have seen some of these concept pieces in the past with us, and then
That
we've
looks
shown
so
you
cool.
the in-game world. And a lot of people are like, it looks like the concept. Our artists are amazing. We try to give them a little showcase every week. It's never enough, I'm sure. And with that, I think we'll just wrap up with our Q&A as per usual, and I will play some more of the fighter preview whilst we do that. Maybe I'll move to the in-game part where you guys are fighting all the monsters.
Let's see what
answer questions.
What
the first
questions do we have?
I think we're doing
we
cities.
have some
straight up cities for once.
ones. No,
I mean, to
they're
be
not that
fair,
spicy.
there is going to be a lot of those in Ashes as
Maybe
well.
some of them are spicy.
But in order for them to show
Dan
that
wants
concept
to
art,
know about buffs.
they'd have to
Will there be
show the node
long-term
progress stuff.
individual or group
And they
buffs
have
for
on those
archetypes and
showcases, mind
classes?
you.
And this is in lieu of
Just
when you think about
doesn't really
general
make sense for
rating,
this
where you
showcase to
go
show them. I think
and
is the
you're
only
like,
reason
I'm
they
gonna put
didn't.
this hour-long buff on somebody. Are those types of things going to be something that you're gonna have experience? Like, everybody group up, we're gonna buff up.
Yes, those are definitely an intended experience. I think actually though our longest buff right now is intended to be 30 minutes, so I'm not sure we have hour-long buffs. If we do have hour-long buffs, though, they would likely come in the form of
Food?
edibles.
Yeah.
Well, excuse
Or
me, that's what we call it.
potions.
Wrong term.
Phrasing, Steven.
Rations.
Jesus.
Steven.
No,
Just like laughing.
I'm okay with that.
It's too good.
I'd be fine with all
Falcons
long-term
wants to
buffs
know about
being
naval risks.
consumables, honestly.
What's the repair cost for destroyed ships and components? Is it risky to venture into the ocean knowing
Make
repairs
smaller
might
time
be
buffs like
costly,
last only a couple
or is
minutes.
it manageable enough to encourage frequent exploration?
No.
And this is coming from people seeing our caravan exploration stuff.
Sure. Yeah, like most things in Ashes, there is risk. And traveling across the seas is not a easy adventure. So when you suffer either damage or destruction, obviously those will each contain different levels of risk. The damage will be much more manageable if actively attempting to repair that while at sea, which you will have options to do on ships, is actively repair. Your crew can actively repair if they have the appropriate materials. But if you do, unfortunately, suffer some major mishap and are completely destroyed, the cost will be great in reconstituting your vessel.
All right, the next one is from OTR Oder that wants to know about coastal node ZOIs. Will the deep ocean be encompassed into the zone of influence of coastal nodes? I feel like we've talked about this before, but it might have been with PI.
I'm sorry, repeat that last part of it again.
Will the deep ocean be encompassed into the zone of influence of coastal nodes? So the coastal nodes, will the
Oh, I
deep
see.
sea
I
be
hope
part
so.
of that? And I think we've
Otherwise, it's wasted
said that
space.
before, but
Yeah, no, the deep sea, while it exists technically as part of a zone of influence, it does not contribute to those coastal node areas. So the coast does, not the deep sea, but it is primarily the land.
Oh, okay. So the
environments that
water will, just
contribute
not
to the
too far
coast,
out. Okay.
experience, Grant.
At least I think that's what
yeah,
he's saying.
And that
folks
that
were curious
obviously
about it.
and that obviously might change, right? We'll see kind of how that plays out during Alpha 2.
And then we've got Leonardo who wants to know about server culture. Knowing that there won't be PvP or PvE only servers, how will new players find a server that fits their playstyle, culture, expectations? I don't
Forms,
think we've ever said there won't be
discords,
PvP or PvE only servers, but
regions.
I think that's what people are under the impression.
We haven't, I don't think we've officially said that, but
Mm-mm.
there won't be PvP or PvE servers. The intended design is that PvP events are the primary method by which consensual PvP exists for players. They opt into those. And then non-consensual PvP is governed through our flagging system, which is highly disincentivizing players to engage in non-consensual PvP through the act
Yeah,
of
you
corruption.
basically got to
So the question was,
pick your
how
battles
will
if you're going to be
players
an
get to
asshole, effectively.
choose their PvP experience? Is that what it was?
Yeah, well, if you're new and let's say maybe you're a PvE primary player, how will I know
Sure.
which server to join? Like what culture
Oh,
is
I
going to be
see.
best for
I
me?
see.
Well, the
I see.
forums, you'd
I
find
see.
it. You'd look for a guild that's PvE
Ashes
centric.
is a PvX game. And so in that regard, your ability to wholesale disconnect from the PvP elements of the game are likely not going to be entirely successful. Now, does that mean that you can reduce your exposure to PvP? 100%, right? And there are multiple play paths and progression points that players can elect instead to be more PvE focused. But by the sheer nature of risk versus reward, and risk including not being able to predict how other players might impact your gameplay, that is an element of the innate risk that exists in the multiplayer environment of a PvX setting. So, not everybody is going to like that. And we
I will
accept
say,
that, right? And we're not trying to build a game that everybody is going to like,
It's not for
because
everybody. It's a niche.
doing that, absolutely, doing that is not going to be successful because there are just people with different interests. And we accept that, and we're very kind of on the nose about what we're trying to achieve, right? The idea is not to create a gank fest, is not to create a grief fest. That is not what PvX is.
drawbacks.
And so
I mean,
because of that, we have certain
I think
mechanisms
they already kind of do it
and
that way,
systems that govern the way
just not
players
to like a full
engage
extent.
in PvP. And majority of those are opt-in, but there is always that element of risk that's governed by the flagging system. And so if
Yeah.
you're interested in that, I would take a look at the wiki and look up what flagging is and look up what corruption is. My experience tells me, and my expectations of the system are, that they will significantly reduce a player's exposure to non-consensual PvP, but that risk is always going to be present to some degree.
You're probably not going to get randomly
My
ganked is
recommendation,
the effectiveness
make
of it all, right?
friends.
Like someone who's being an
Join the
asshole
guild. It's
is
an
putting
MMO.
themselves in
It's
a
not
larger
meant to be
detriment
solo playing experience.
than the
Not
gains
that you
they're
can't. It's
getting.
just that's more risky. So
At
do
least
I
in the
risk it
current
if I risk
iteration of
it?
the
That's
corruption system.
your call. And then Lineker and
Um,
Emily kind of were asking about biome development. Will we see other biomes outside of the Riverlands? I think we've seen a lot of the Riverlands.
One thing he didn't touch
lately.
on is that
And then what biomes are
free
planned for the
PvP
start
amongst
of
like
Alpha
factions
2?
that you're at war with,
So
or
as
if
we
you're
get
out on the
closer
open
to Alpha
sea
2,
where
I
there
will
is no
have a better
corruption
answer
chance,
for the
things like
expected
that do
biomes at the
exist.
start of Alpha 2.
At which case the risk would be a
We
lot
have
harder or a lot
probably
harsher because
completed
anybody could
the
fight you if they so
assets
chose
for
to.
about
But
7 biomes, I think, roughly. And what I mean by that is we're talking about terrain, we're talking about foliage, different tree types, we're talking about geological features and different types of
I
stone
will say one
work
thing
and
that he didn't
whatnot.
really touch on as well.
From a environment standpoint, biome
I
creation
feel like there is
is
a larger
remains. But
misconception about these
biomes
kinds
are
of games too.
they're
Like
essentially
talking more like
zones, right?
BDO or
And
talking more
zones
like
require more to be
Arcade,
complete than
Lineage
just the
2, and so on
environmental
and so forth.
assets. They require
Even World
content
of Warcraft.
creation. That's
It
point of interest development.
it's not really that
Those are
common
environmental sets that are needed
for people to go out of their way to grief you. It will eventually happen to
ancestral
everybody.
ruins. There is
But
narrative
like,
and quests
I
that
would
are
say even
required to
Arcade, a
populate
game that's
zone.
considered
There are
PvP through and through,
creatures and
endgame
creature
is all
design
PvP.
that's required to populate
10% of your
zone.
time is
So,
PvP.
if we're talking about biomes from an environmental perspective,
Unless you
there's been a
seek
lot of
it,
progress
obviously,
made
unless you actively try to make it more than
our
10%. But
overall biome.
I think it's more
normal
the question
players,
here
it's
is
going to be
really
like
when
10%
will
of
they
the time.
see those biomes?
Well, we've shown the desert
Which is
biome.
still a pretty sizable
They've
amount, mind
seen
you.
the jungle biome
But
in
like,
Alpha 1.
and I see no reason why Ashes
Some of
Creation
our
will not follow
tabletop
suit.
mountains.
Honestly,
We have shown obviously the Riverlands. We will continue to show those biomes in the future at some point, right? When they're ready to show. And when it comes to what's expected at the beginning of Alpha 2, that's something that when we are certain.
Yeah, and I mean,
that
I think
will
that's where
be,
it comes from, too, right? Is like
because content is,
you have
development
those
can be
bad
fluid,
moments,
right?
those
We're
bad
in the
experiences,
progress of
and they
development.
stick with you.
So
it might still
I
only
would
be
say
10% of your
stay
time,
tuned
or
for when we're ready
fuck,
to
I'll
show
even
what that's
up
going
it.
to
Like,
be.
let's say like 30%
Yeah,
of
and
your
I
time.
think on the front of what you can expect from Alpha 2 and the
Or
guide
even
for
more if
that,
you do. I
we
guess
will
like
put
if
out an
you if
article
you're the
that
kind of
kinda
guy that
gives you
goes
an
into chat and
overview of
bitches and
what
moans about
features
it,
and
obviously those
systems and
kinds of people are going to
areas
do it
will
more.
be available.
Depends on who
I
you
think
are,
we've
how
done
you
that
react to these
before. We've
things.
given you like a map and
Right.
the
But
keybinds and
under
all
normal
that
circumstances,
jazz. So
though,
we will
right?
do that again for you guys again in
But
the
that
future.
30% of
So
the time
stay
is very
tuned.
negative,
And as we get closer
and
to
it's
Alpha 2,
very
you'll probably
frustrating,
see
especially for
more
newer
of that
players,
information
and it
coming
sticks
into
with
play.
them.
The next one here is from
So that 30%
Tyranthraxus,
of the
and they
time
want to know
becomes a
about
lot
ship
more
and combat
impactful on your
collision.
gameplay,
How will
negatively,
naval
in
combat
this
and
case,
raiding work if ships
than
cannot be
the
moved or
other
blocked?
70% of your not getting ganked or not getting fucked over.
How will naval combat
time.
work if ships cannot be moved or blocked?
Yeah.
Ships can be moved. You're talking about like collision, like pushing ships in the different directions in the water?
Yeah, I think that's what they mean.
Okay. Yeah. The intent is that we adhere to some semblance of real physics feelings, right, with regards to these vehicles. And so ships do have the potential to be pushed in different directions and out of the way for each other. That is an intended collision experience that we want ships to have, but it should come with significant risk and potential damage to the vessels themselves.
All right. And then the next one here is from Hutchie 1989, and they want to know about commission credit. Will one get credit for quest objectives or for completing a commission when in a raid? We talked about, yes, if you're in a party, you can get a commission credit. But what about if you're in a raid?
Oh, I see. That's a good question. And I think in the majority of cases, if we do allow progression within narrative systems like a quest or commission, I think that's something that's going to be distributed based on the number of raid or party participants, right? So killing a particular monster is not going to get everybody a check mark on their progress towards killing 20, right? It's going to be one person's going to get that progression. It'll be
probably going to be based on like
to the next person and so on
tag
and so
credit.
If we're talking
Like if you all hit the
about,
monster, you all get the credit as long as you're in the raid party.
like story arcs or events,
right? I figure
that have
that's how I
phases
figure.
or that have overall participation by many members, then that progress can be shared at a party raid level. So there's different settings depending on what objective there is within a quest. Some of them will share, some of them will be distributed.
Right. And then APOC wants to know about shipbuilding.
I mean,
so
that sounds
we
pretty
don't have
normal,
a lot
honestly.
Of naval questions. Y'all are very curious about naval stuff. Shipbuilding. So if we don't have a coastal node leveled up, are the SOL on are we SOL on building and launching ships? So are we just like helpless in that?
She double taked on that one.
If we don't personally have a coastal node set up, can we not build and launch ships?
No, you can absolutely build and launch ships. Coastal nodes are not where ships get built and launched. harbors are where ships get built and launched, and harbors are essentially dilapidated points of interest that progress when a node nearby, coastal or not,
Okay, so there'll
adopts
be like a
that point
ruin of a
interest
harbor
for
you
that
can
harbor.
use.
Then the node can contribute towards building up the harbor, and players who may not be citizens of that node can still go to that harbor and access its services.
And then we are
Good.
in our penultimate question here. We're almost to the end. So thank you all for staying with us. Apolphis wants to know about active blocking spells. How will active blocking function when it comes to spells? Will players be able to parry spells? We talked about active blocking in melee occurrences, but they're curious about more spell oriented.
Hold on one second before we get to that question. Let me give
Go
some
for it.
clarity. So the question I saw from Ashes of Nerer was, so a group of 8 will have to kill 8 times 20 goblins. No, in regards to, like, it depends on the objective. If it's a kill objective, then being in a group of 8 or potentially in a raid, everyone will get credit for the kill. If it's a drop that's required, like a quest drop off of a loot container or a monster, and one person grabs the quest reward, not everyone will get the quest reward from that
I see
individual
what he
drop.
means.
So just want to clarify.
That's
It
annoying.
depends on the
necessary.
But I think that's
correct,
probably
exactly.
fair.
I just want to clarify. It depends on the objective, right? The intent is not to gimp healer classes or support classes, from getting those things. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I mean, we'll see
What
how
was
it
that,
is.
Margaret? The last
They'll get
question?
criticism
No
on that in
problem.
Alpha too, I'm
It's good
sure.
to clarify. How will active blocking function when it comes to spells? Will players be able to parry spells?
Active blocking. So yes, it depends. So active blocking is a part of our universal skill tree, and active blocking, depending on what piece of equipment
Uh-oh.
you have equipped,
Oh, we're good.
some will be catered towards magic in blocking, and some will be catered towards physical damage in blocking. So if you have a physical shield, you're likely going to have little efficacy against active blocking against a spell. However, if you have a sigil equipped, which is essentially the arcane variant of a shield, and you actively block, then you might have good efficacy against the spell.
All right. And our final
I still hope
question
active
for
blocking is more of like
this
a
development
DP
update is from Livu, who
like a
wants to
tank cooldown
know about
rather
mount
than
use
just like
cases.
you sitting
Will
behind your
players
shield
need
the whole
multiple
fucking time.
mounts on their skill bar for various purposes like immunity, gliding, combat, and escaping, or will the gameplay be more focused on using?
I mean, they've
just
talked
one
about
mount?
not even
I'm
like
really
ripping
excited
active
for us to
blocking out of the
show
game
mount
if it's not
abilities in the future, because I
received
know that's
well.
something
So
that's on the plate.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the intent is that mounts have varying abilities, and it's expected that you will have a number greater than 1 of mounts available to use. Now, whether or not that number is influenced or governed by a stable system, that is something that is still in active design and development.
okay,
It is
he's going the
likely
arcades
that
route for
you will
mounts.
not be able to
It
carry
sounds
every
like.
mount you own and be able to use them all at the same time. There will probably be some governor to that.
Or in the case of the
And
stable,
it
the
will likely
BDO
be
route,
serviced
actually,
through a
technically.
default building that exists in every node, which is the stables. And then to the second part of that question, is it intended that mount abilities are providing a matrix of choices, options, or strategy to the player? The answer would be yes. Because we have these abilities and different stat blocks that are governed through the animal husbandry system, the desire is to make sure, like any other piece of equipment or itemization choice, that strategy is carefully considered when determining the appropriate mount use.
All right, and that gets us to the end. We made it.
Yay,
It's been a very long one for us all. So thank you so
yeah, I was like, oh
much,
yeah, it's
everybody,
like about an hour and a half, maybe
bearing
2
with us,
hours.
sticking around.
We're almost at
Hopefully
3.
you had
Fuck.
lots of snacks. Maybe
Damn
got a potty break in there.
How's it? It
But of
is
course, we do want to
5:41.
mention again to head on over to our forums, forums.ashesofcreation.com. Give us your feedback. We have a thread over there already for the fighter archetype preview. If you have any thoughts, definitely share them with us. We will be compiling that and sharing that with the development team. And of course, thank you so much to our development team. Everybody has been kicking butt, but of course, an extra special thank you to Trad, Brian, and Keenan for joining us for this specific showcase. And of course, Stephen, for your time. I know this is a lot for you. He's been a busy bee. And of course, that we thank you all for being here. And, we hope that you have another wonderful, safe, and healthy month as we kick butt and work towards our next live stream that's coming up here. And of course, internally, we have some big sprints that are coming up, which is very, very exciting for us. We are preparing our butts for Alpha 2, and I'm telling you, we've been prepping a lot and getting a lot of things in place, and even some polish time for us. So that's been a big thing for us, is making sure that you guys have a great experience, and lots of performance work, as Stephen had noted before. Of course, we will have the video up on the 4K video will be up on YouTube today, so stay tuned for that. And of course, we will have the full development update for you up tomorrow, pending YouTube cooperates with us. Make sure that if you want your comment spotlighted, to make a comment on that development update video and leave a comment there. Make sure that it shows you publicly as a subscriber, so that when we pick random, it shows you up there. And of course, follow us in all the places. We are Ashes of Creation, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the places, Snapchat. We try to post everywhere. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next month for another update.
Woo! Bye, everybody. See you guys.
Where's my rogue showcase? I want rogue. But yeah, neat. Cool, even, some might say. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's just okay. Not a fan, again, not a fan of the helmet. The rest of the armor looks pretty neat. Oh, to be fair, most of the time I fucking hide my helmet anyway, so I'm just gonna be fucking real. Ooh, okay, hold on. Withered Woods. That looks actually pretty cool. I think some of these they've showed before, actually. Maybe all of them. I don't really watch this usually this far into the live stream. All right. So that was fun. I don't mind. You know, I don't mind doing this every month. I mean, if I'm gonna be live streaming the game and even potentially making videos on it, I haven't decided fully yet if we're gonna do that. I would like to at least expose viewers to it, right? So that, and I mean, whenever I talk about it to like Dream or Marth or GTA or whoever, I feel like I don't do it enough justice. So maybe giving people the opportunity to get a little bit of an insight into like what's going on with the game should help a little bit. Because I feel like if you're not following the development of the game, it just feels like it's fucking like dead in the water, and you like there's no fucking notoriety or whatever, right? To be fair, that is to be expected in such a case. But yeah, so I think they definitely, that was a bit more long-winded than I was expecting. But I mean, Fighter looks okay. It kind of looks like I'd expect it to look. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. I think I don't know. I have no idea. Something like that, anyways. I'm actually not that close to my camera. I don't know. I probably won't be making a video for this specifically. Maybe upload the VOD, I don't know. But all right. Okay. So we're gonna transition back to Dragon's Dogma in a moment. I gotta use the washroom, and I want to get a piece of my cake. But aside from that, I think we're pretty much good to go. So, God fucking damn it. To be fair, I don't think there's anything in Ashes of Creation that they could show us leading up to Alpha 2 that would make me go, holy fucking shit. Oh, bam, smash and break my chair. Smash and break my keyboard or something. I don't know, you know? But like, I mean, I'm just generally excited. I think that's literally it. I want, I mean, I'm not even necessarily excited for Ashes of Creation more specifically than I'm just excited for an MMO of that kind that isn't just, you know, I don't know, like what would you call it? Like corporate greed, you know, market differences. I don't know how you want to phrase that. Like Korean MMOs as an example, right? I loved Arcade. I loved BDO. They're pay to win to all hell and back. Well, Arcade had its moment of not really being pay to win, but you get my point. For longer than it was not pay to win, it was pay to win. When doesn't feel just mean? Yeah, exactly. Like I want to play an MMO that is just there to be fun. It's just there to provide me like time to grind, time to be competitive in the case of like PvP and the like. And I mean, and like it's one of those ones like, is 14 a great game? Yes, it is. It's 100% is. You know, there's some people that will criticize it and be like, "Oh, 14 is not really an MMO." And sure, there's a lot of aspects of 14 that kind of are like anti-MMO if you really want to like dig really deep. But that doesn't matter. But I think what honestly does matter is that there's differences in the different kinds of MMOs that are out there, and we haven't really gotten one that fits that like. I want to say Korean style, but I mean it's more than that. I mean original like classic WoW or classic or vanilla. Sorry, not classic, vanilla, through to like Wrath of the Lich King had a very similar feel to what I'm describing, but like kind of like that risk reward gameplay where like doing things requires you to be attentive and knowledgeable and to have a group of people to know what you're doing. Obviously not every video game should be like this. Again, 14 was my example of a game that does perfectly fine without being like this. But the fact that like every other MMO like this has died in some capacity. I mean, BDO is still pretty popular, to be fair. But Arcade is long dead. It's gone. It is. We hit it with the defibrillator every once in a while, and it kind of like opens its eyes for a second, but like it's pretty fucking dead. And I don't think Throne and Liberty is honestly gonna do very well in the West. Truth be told, if Amazon even ever plans on fucking releasing it, so we'll see. That's one of those games that, like I said, forever MMO player here. Is it going to be utter dog shit? Probably. Am I still going to play it? You're damn right I am. Maybe not for long, but I'll still log in. PAX Day should be fun too. I'm a little weary with its combat because we just don't really know what the fuck they're going to do with it. I just don't want the game to become a glorified survival game that just has a slight MMO like side to it. I would rather it toe the line. And to be fair, there's no evidence that it'll do one or the other yet. But like just, you know, weariness is for weariness, right? But I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's just one of those moments where like, all we can do is wait, right? I mean, it's the same thing with Ashes, the same thing with Camelot Unchained, it's the same thing with like fucking Star Citizen or whatever forever development game you want to like talk about. I almost I almost said Pantheon the Fallen. And that one does not fit this bill. It is forever development, but I don't think they're developing a game. I think they're developing a scam. Topic for another time. But is honestly all we can really do is wait. But hey, I guess the last thing I'll say on it before we make the transition to Dragon's Dogma 2, if people weren't aware, I have actually bought into the Alpha 2 of Ashes of Creation, and I will be playing and streaming it. I think it's what, like, it's supposed to be Q3, so like September through, no. Is what? It's August through October. Hold on. My ability to differentiate quarters is a little off. So what, that's like July through September, potentially, right? That's Q3, right? Oh, fuck. I could just Google it. I don't know why I'm not just Googling it instead of just trying to figure it out on my own. Oh, there we are. Yeah, July. Okay, I was right. Good. Yeah, somewhere from July through to September. We'll be starting that. I still want to get through the story of 14 if I can manage it. At some point. We get a couple things I need to do before that though, and it'll definitely take a back burner when Ashes rolls around. But yeah, cool. All right. So